think maybe the most common mistake that a music artist will make is they get way too focused on trying to get as many streams as possible. And what I'd argue is more important or more valuable is getting as many people to come back as possible. And by come back, I don't just mean come back and listen to your song or even listen to your next song. I mean, come back and listen to you, period. Pay attention to any other pieces of content that you have. How do you get somebody to care? And this is where branding comes in. And most artists, they've heard that they need to take branding serious, and they've heard probably some bit of advice about artist branding. Now, I feel like a lot of the videos out on the internet about branding, period, because it's not just artist branding, it's personal branding, branding for businesses, whatever. If you just see branding advice, period, it's one of those things that I swear is overcomplicated. It's talked about like it's some mystical thing that, you need to follow an exact blueprint or formula in order to actually make it work. And I don't know. Of course you can create a system around anything, but I think again it's one of those things when you're first getting into it, when you're first trying to establish a brand, it's like, whoa, okay, I gotta build a brand, and you start thinking like you're really building something, like you're really crafting something, and it's one of the most simple things that gets overly complicated. So I wanted to put together a full course about branding. And I've gone over branding in multiple videos because this is one of those things that I kind of went all in trying to figure out. And it's because I was one of those artists that was making that mistake. It wasn't until I got millions of streams that I realized maybe getting more streams isn't the answer. I can get somebody to like my song, but damn, there's a very, very, very small percentage of those people that actually liked me and paid attention to what I was doing. So I must be doing something wrong. And yeah, I had to figure it out. I had to figure out what I was doing wrong. I didn't put over a decade of my life into doing music just to fuck it up now. God damn, I got millions of streams. That was supposed to be the answer. That was supposed to be it. I got millions of people to listen to me. That I won, right? I won. But when I continued to make more music and I dropped that and I realized, oh wait, I didn't get the same. I gotta do this again. Marketing is important. But once you market to somebody and you've reached a cold audience and you've converted them into somebody that's like, wow, I like this. How do you get them to care? So I broke this course down into these 5 sections, and you can check out the video chapters if you want to skip around or come back later. But we're going to start off with section 1, Brand Archetypes Explained. One thing that artists tend to overthink and overcomplicate is their branding. And if they ain't overthinking it, they might even be oversimplifying it. Too many artists think branding is picking a couple of colors and designing a logo and then you're done. But branding is something that affects the way that people see you on a psychological level. So today we're going to talk about brand archetypes and how they can help you create a strong and consistent brand identity. Now, brand archetypes are a set of universal symbolic characters or personas that represent different aspects of human nature, behavior, and desires. Altogether, there are 12 main archetypes, and each has its own set of traits and characteristics. So let's take a look at each archetype before we break down how they'll help you identify your brand and find your unique voice. As we go over these 12 archetypes, try to think about which ones align with how you already see yourself. Your brand can be something that you make up, if you want to embody some sort of character or persona for your artist brand. But if you're struggling to come up with a brand, it might be because you're trying to come up with a brand. Unless you're trying to intentionally be a specific character, I would argue that the best brands come from an authentic place. Your brand can be as simple as who you already are, and it can represent the things that you already believe in. So like I said, I would just try and keep that in mind while we go over these archetypes real quick. It's okay if you feel like you could fit into many of these archetypes. In fact, most brands align with multiple archetypes, while others clearly fall into one category. But with all that being said, first up, we have archetype number 1, the innocent. The innocent represents purity, simplicity, and optimism. Next, we have the explorer, which represents freedom, adventure, and self-discovery. You could probably even picture some of your favorite artists as we go over these, because every brand, whether it's a public figure or a company, falls into one or more of these brand archetypes. Up next, we have the hero, which represents courage, strength, and resilience. Archetype number 4 is the outlaw. As the name suggests, the outlaw is known for being rebellious, and it represents individuality. For archetype number 5, we have the jester, which represents humor, playfulness, and spontaneity. Next is the lover. The lover archetype often represents passion, sensuality, and intimacy. Then we got the sage archetype that represents wisdom and is known for knowledge and insight. Archetype number 8 is the magician, and the magician represents transformation, change, and inspiration. There's only a few brand archetypes left, but another interesting thing to think about is when artists have rebranded themselves, and sometimes drastically. And we're about to go over some examples later on, but you can use anyone that's rebranded themselves and see how they once fit into one brand archetype and then sometimes switch to a completely different archetype that represents polar opposite traits and characteristics. With that in mind, the next archetype is the everyman or every girl. It's also referred to as the regular guy or regular girl, whatever you want to call it. This brand archetype represents authenticity, humility, and being down to earth. And this makes the everyman very familiar and relatable. Next, we have the caregiver, which represents compassion, empathy, and can be known for being nurturing. For archetype number 11, we have the creator. The creator often represents imagination and innovation, as well as self-expression. For the last brand archetype, we have the ruler. If you couldn't have guessed it, the ruler represents power, authority, and control. By identifying which of these archetypes resonate with your brand, you can create a consistent brand identity that will attract and appeal to your target audience. Using the brand archetypes' traits and characteristics will help you find the voice and tone for your brand. But the thing with us is it could get a little bit deeper because our music can also be an extension of who we are. So I feel like it's important to consider the relationship between your music and your brand archetype. Should your music help you decide your archetype, or should your brand archetype help you determine what type of music to create? Well, the truth is, it could go either way. On one hand, your music can help you figure out which brand archetype fits you the best, and the type of music you create, your lyrics, and your overall image can also help in defining your archetype. An example could be if your music is high energy and it's motivational, you might be more suited for the hero archetype. But if your music is more playful or funny, you might fit better with the jester archetype. But see, on the other hand, your brand archetype can also help you determine what type of music to create. If your brand's more focused on innovation and creativity, you might want to create music that pushes boundaries and experiments with new sounds, you feel me? But if your brand is focused on nostalgia and tradition, you can make music that shows respect to classic genres and styles. Most of the time, an artist will start making the music first, which makes sense, but then once they start taking it more seriously and they're ready to take it to the next level, that's when they start thinking about things like branding or marketing and the business side of the music industry. But there's a bunch of people that start off as content creators and then they suddenly drop a song. But these people already have their brands established, whether they meant to or not. So depending on your circumstance, that may change the way that you approach this. Ultimately, the relationship between your music and your brand archetype is fluid. Your music can influence your archetype, and your archetype can influence your music. I find that the key is to have some kind of balance that works for you and your audience. Do what feels authentic, and honestly, you can't go too wrong. But music isn't the only thing that's affected by your brand archetype. As a music artist, your archetype will also play a significant role in determining things like your fashion choices. Whichever archetype you embody, that'll dictate the overall tone and the message of your brand. and that needs to be reflected in what you wear as well. For example, if you're the creator archetype, you might wear some more experimental type clothes to showcase your individuality and creativity. And this isn't anything new, and I'm sure you could think of at least 3 different artists who do this. You could also wear more high-end and sophisticated clothing if you embody the ruler archetype, which will help you give off a more powerful vibe and convey a sense of authority. But the hero archetype might choose to wear more bold and daring clothing that gives off confidence and bravery, while the jester archetype may wear clothing and accessories that are more colorful and playful, which showcases a sense of humor and lightheartedness that people can instantly spot. What's even crazier is your brand archetype can even influence the type of brands and designers that you choose to collaborate with, like how the sage represents wisdom, and depending on where they stand, they may gravitate towards more sustainable and eco-friendly fashion brands that align with their values and their message. It's definitely recommended that you think about your brand archetype when you're considering your fashion choices, because you want to convey a consistent message to your audience. This is what's going to help strengthen your brand identity and establish a loyal following of ride or die fans. Now, by no means am I saying that you should put yourself in some sort of box. Artists can embody multiple brand archetypes because we're multidimensional individuals just like everybody else, except we express different aspects of our personality and creativity through our music. So let's say an artist is both a jester and a creator. That's perfectly fine because they can easily use humor and wit to bring their unique vision to life. But too much of anything is never good for you. Even too much water could leave you in the hospital or worse. So while it's possible for an artist to fit into multiple brand archetypes, typically you'll see that a strong brand will stick to no more than like 2 or 3 archetypes. You don't want to cause a whole bunch of confusion by being all over the place, you feel me? This helps to create a clear and consistent brand image that is easily recognizable to your audience. You do get a little bit of leeway once you reach a certain level, but brand recognition is extremely important while in the discovery phase of your music career. Plus, it's not like you're stuck to anything. Artists can rebrand themselves if they feel it's necessary, but it sort of loses its effect the more that you do it, so definitely keep that in mind. But rebranding yourself should be a deliberate and strategic process where you align your image, messaging, and your creative with a new brand archetype. And you may lose some of your old fan base during this transition. However, it's important to do it correctly and try not to alienate your existing fan base in the process. But to really help you determine your own brand archetype and create your own unique brand identity, we'll break down each archetype and take a look at some examples of different artists, public figures, and well-known companies that fit into each archetype. So let's get started with the innocent. We already went over how it represents purity, simplicity, and optimism, but it can also oftentimes be associated with things like happiness, safety, and nostalgia. So let's look at some examples of brands that embody the innocent archetype. And of course, we're going to start it off with some artist examples. So for the first artist case studies, we'll use Taylor Swift, Ed Sheeran, Ariana Grande, her, SZA, and Billie Eilish. So first with Taylor Swift, her music often focuses on themes of innocence, love, and nostalgia, making it easier for people to grow a bond and relate to her and her brand. So her fans are able to use her music as a comforting escape from the stresses in their daily life. Next we have Ed Sheeran, and his music is known for its simplicity and honesty and being easy to relate to. He has that boy next door type of persona that makes him appear more approachable. Now Ariana Grande's brand definitely has a certain innocence to it. Between her powerful voice and her bubbly personality, her brand creates a sense of optimism and joy. You see her music often has themes of love, self-discovery, and personal growth. But next up we have her, who has a low-key type of persona that feels down to earth. Her music has a soulful vibe that slick feels like a throwback to different times, and you should start to notice a trend with every brand example, not only with how they represent themselves, but also with the emotions and the feelings that these brands give to people. SZA is another artist that embodies the innocent archetype, and she also has themes of self-discovery, personal growth, and relationships in her music. Like I said, you'll notice a trend. Her lyrics are often super vulnerable, and even her voice has a certain sweetness and vulnerability and rawness to it that can feel familiar to her listeners. But lastly, we have Billie Eilish, and although her music can be known to be dark and moody at times, it has a certain innocence to it. But even looking at how she's known for always wearing baggy clothing because she didn't want to have that type of attention on her body, her overall brand is definitely a good example of the innocent archetype. But looking outside of the music industry, other celebrities that could be included could be Betty White, Tom Hanks, or even Ellen DeGeneres, who are often associated with being genuine, sincere, and, just overall just kind-hearted people. Some popular companies that could fit are Disney, Coca-Cola, or even McDonald's, who all use images of happiness, joy, and innocence to promote their products and their services. But the brand archetype you choose can even help you determine what colors to use. Understanding the psychology behind color can help you choose the right color scheme for your brand. This will make your brand even more appealing and effective at conveying the right message to your audience. The innocent is usually associated with colors like white, light blue, and pastels. These colors are usually seen as pure, innocent, and calming because they give off a sense of simplicity, and they usually appeal to people who seek comfort and familiarity. So when brands use colors like these, they want to create a feeling of safety and trustworthiness. By understanding the innocent archetype, you'll be able to create a brand image that resonates with your audience by using images and messaging that give people feelings of purity, simplicity, and optimism. But once you have a basic understanding of each archetype, you'll be able to figure out what your brand aligns with. So the next one that we'll break down is the explorer. We already know that this archetype represents adventure, freedom, self-discovery, things of that nature. So here are some brands that can be associated with that same sort of self-expression and exploration. Up first for our artist case studies, we have Post Malone, Childish Gambino, Janelle Monáe, and Chance the Rapper. Now with Post Malone, his music explores personal experiences and struggles, which aligns with the explorer archetype's desire for new experiences and self-discovery. Childish Gambino puts out insanely creative content that often explores issues in society and themes of identity, all of which promotes self-exploration and aligns perfectly with the explorer archetype's pursuit of knowledge and understanding. If you look at Janelle Monáe's brand, her music promotes individuality and it challenges societal norms, encouraging a sense of adventure and curiosity. All of this is exactly what would fit as the explorer archetype. But next up, we have Chance the Rapper. His music promotes positivity and it encourages fans to pursue their dreams and believe in themselves while also touching on themes of faith and spirituality. That aligns with the explorer's focus on self-discovery. Even Bob Marley's brand could be considered the explorer because he projects an image of authenticity, individuality, and free-spiritedness through not only his music, but also through his entire public persona. Some other celebrity examples could include Elon Musk, Steve Irwin, also known as the Crocodile Hunter, or even Neil Armstrong could all be examples of the explorer archetype. We could also look at company brands like Jeep, GoPro, or National Geographic, who all focus on adventure and exploration when promoting their brand. When it's time to think about color schemes, the explorer is usually associated with earthy and natural colors like green, brown, or beige. These colors can signify growth, nature, and adventure. For people naturally drawn to the explorer, they're usually people who look for new experiences and just want to break free from any boring cycles in their life. So brands that fit the explorer archetype will use natural colors like that to create a sense of adventure and exploration. And it really is fascinating to think about how we all respond to certain colors in certain ways, you feel me? We associate them with different things depending on the context in which we see them. The power of color is something that's instilled into all of us from the moment we're born on a psychological level. Hopefully this gives you a better understanding on the explorer archetype, and if this felt like you and what you represent as we broke it down, then you might have found your archetype, or maybe just one of them, because remember, it's okay to choose between 1 and 3 archetypes. The way you combine them may be a part of what sets your brand apart and makes it so unique compared to everything else. But the next brand archetype that we'll be breaking down is the hero. The hero not only represents courage, strength, and resilience, but it can also be associated with leadership and excellence, or even overcoming different obstacles. The artists that we'll use as case studies will be Beyonce, J. Cole, and Kid Cudi. I feel like I shouldn't have to explain too much for Beyonce because, it's Beyonce, but her brand could fit as the hero because she embodies courage, strength, and leadership, which can inspire her fans to be strong and persevere through whatever's keeping keeping them down. Her brand's definitely mixed with a bit of ruler archetype as well, which is actually an amazing combination. You know, Queen Bee mixed with the hero, and what's more love than a queen or a king that people consider a hero. But next we have J. Cole. His music inspires self-improvement and personal growth while also advocating for social justice. And I don't know, that sounds pretty hero-like to me. Kid Cudi is our last case study for the hero because he uses his platform to inspire and uplift his audience. He's also known to encourage mental health awareness and for promoting self-acceptance. When I first learned about the hero brand archetype, I'll be real, I assumed it'd be a little corny as far as branding goes, but not every hero is gonna look the same. The vibe that you get from Superman is nowhere near the vibe that you get from Batman, you feel me? Both of them obviously have other archetypes mixed in with their brand, but they both fit the hero archetype because they both display, you know, moral strength and they inspire people. Some other celebrity examples of the hero could be Oprah Winfrey, Dwayne Johnson, Serena Williams, and Barack Obama, because each of these celebrities are often seen as leaders and they inspire others to reach their full potential. Some company brand examples could be Nike, Apple, or BMW. And although they are all in completely different industries, each of these company brands use images of strength, excellence, and overcoming obstacles. The hero's brand image is one that should resonate with the audience and should give them courage and inspiration. So while we're on the subject of brand image, strong and bold colors like red, blue, or black gives off a sense of power and strength or authority. Using these colors along with everything else in your messaging should create a feeling of empowerment for fans. And the type of fan that would connect to the hero brand usually want to be in control and make a difference in the world. So creating the right brand for yourself will also help you determine what type of person would become a fan of you. The better you understand your own brand, the easier it'll be to understand your fan avatars, which will significantly help with marketing because you won't be doing so much guessing on what type of people would enjoy not only your music, but your brand as well. Your music can build you an audience, but ultimately it's going to be your brand that grows a community that stays around. But that being said, if you tend to break the quote-unquote rules, then you might want to consider the outlaw archetype. The outlaw, when done right, can be an extremely effective brand. Think about artists like 6ix9ine. Regardless of your opinions of him, his brand was so polarizing that he got a significant amount of people to either love or hate him. But for the artist case studies that we'll use for the outlaw, we'll be looking at the brands of Kanye West, DaBaby, and 50 Cent. And it shouldn't be too much of a shocker that Kanye would be an example of the outlaw, but I'd say his brand has that mix with the creator and the ruler archetype as well. But being so publicly known for his controversial statements, and we ain't even gonna go too deep on the specifics, but Kanye has made so many moves, so many stunts, so much music that has consistently challenged traditional ideas about art and culture. DaBaby is another artist who fits into the outlaw archetype between some of the things that he says in his music or on stage or just on camera in general. His brand is a perfect example of the outlaw. Last up, we got 50 Cent, and I feel like 50 always embraced the outlaw brand archetype. He's consistently proven time and time again that he knows how to flip something controversial and leverage that into another move while remaining relevant the whole time. And this isn't just a music thing, this is a brand thing. 50's made so many moves outside of the music industry, and everything in his brand before can still and does apply. And just like us as people, our brands can continue to evolve and grow over time. But as for some celebrity examples of the outlaw, you could look at people like Joe Rogan, Gordon Ramsay, or Conor McGregor. Some company brand examples could be Harley Davidson, Jack Daniels, or Red Bull. Rebellious, free-spirited, or controversial. If these are some of the words that you use to describe yourself, then just like every other artist, celebrity, and company example we had, you might want to incorporate the outlaw into your brand. You could use colors like black, gray, or dark blue with your brand because colors like these can be mysterious and are commonly tied to rebellion and individuality. And it's not like these are the only colors that can match the outlaw archetype, but that could be a good reference when deciding your color scheme. The next archetype that we have is the jester, and it's really easy to think of plenty of examples that fit this brand to a T. The jester is most commonly known for making people laugh and can easily provide playful entertainment. For our artist examples, we'll be using Lil Dicky, Cardi B, and Jack Harlow. Lil Dicky has built his entire brand around humor, and he's continued to use his brand in comedy. He even has a show called Dave where he continued to intertwine music and comedy. Lil Dicky definitely makes a perfect case case study for the gesture. And one thing you'll notice with strong brands, and this could be any brand, I'm not just talking about artists, but the one thing that you'll notice is when their brand is strong enough, they're able to transition into other fields or industries. It usually looks like they do it a lot more easily and successfully than other weaker brands. Will Smith going from music to acting, George Foreman going from boxing to grills, Amazon for being an online store to also having music, TV, and movie streaming, as well as the Alexas and the Kindles. I'm going off on a tangent, but I hope you can see how important it is to have a strong brand. But getting back to our artist case studies for the gesture, the next example we have is Cardi B. She has this fun, confidence, and humor that have made her brand just as popular, if not more popular than her music. And at the end of the day, that should kind of be what you want. Yeah, our music means everything to us, and the whole point of all of this is because you wanted people to connect with your music. I get it. But what I'm saying is that will happen. Assuming that you make good music for your target audience, then of course they may connect to your music once given the chance. But the next step beyond that is for them to connect with you as the artist, or even better, as the brand. The last gesture that we have in our artist examples is Jack Harlow. I've personally met people that told me they thought he was a comedian when they first came across a video of him. The power that truly has on someone's perception is insane, because if someone likes an artist before they even knew they made music, it makes them far more susceptible to being a fan of the artist's music once they do finally hear it. And Jack uses his natural sense of humor during interviews and basically any time he makes interactions with people. I could go down a list of other celebrity examples, but you could think of people like Kevin Hart, Jimmy Fallon, or Steve Harvey. Ironically, all three of them have each leveraged their careers to go down different paths than just the ones where they started. For some company brand examples, it could be Doritos, Skittles, or even Progressive, because they all use humor in their ads and their branding. The type of colors you'll usually see with the gesture are bright and playful colors like orange, yellow, or purple. Really anything that can create a feeling of joy, because the people that'll be drawn to the gesture archetype will be looking for a good time and, at least at the moment, are not taking life too seriously. So if you've always been told that you're naturally funny, then you might want to lean into that more and consider the gesture archetype when establishing your brand. But moving on, let's break down the lover archetype. Having your brand be associated with love and emotional connection can be super powerful when it comes to connecting with your target audience. For the artist case studies, we'll be using Drake, Frank Ocean, and Jhené Aiko. Now with Drake, I hope you saw this one coming. I mean, he even rocked with the whole Loverboy thing for a minute and everything, but Drake's brand has always leaned into things like love, heartbreak, and relationships. Through his music, he's constantly able to write about the feelings and emotions of modern relationships. He usually crafts his music in a way where his listeners feel like he could be directly talking about whatever situation that they're personally going through. Our next case study for the lover archetype is Frank Ocean. And even people who don't listen to Frank Ocean are usually at least aware that he makes emotionally vulnerable music. He fits the lover archetype because he uses his brand to appeal to people that look for deep and meaningful connections. Again, this is why it's so important to think about the type of audience that each of these archetypes naturally attract. For our last artist example, we could take a look at Jhené Aiko's brand. She seems pretty centered around spirituality and self-love, and the lover isn't always necessarily one that's constantly speaking about love and romance. It could go even deeper than that, where it's more about dealing with emotional connections and finding inner peace. As for other celebrity examples, you can look at people like Ryan Gosling, Leonardo DiCaprio, or Scarlett Johansson. Some company brands that fit the lover archetype could be Victoria's Secret, Kay Jewelers, or Match.com. Of course, when you think of the lover, you typically associate it with colors like pink, red, or white. It depends on the context of where people see these colors, but used along with the traits and characteristics that the lover archetype has, these colors will give people feelings of passion and love. Giving a girl a red rose as opposed to a yellow rose means something completely different based on the context that these colors were used. So if the lover archetype sounds like the right fit for you and your brand, you can use this to get started on developing a brand that creates a feeling of romance or desire. But if you and your brand are more often looked at as being wise or trustworthy, then you may want to take a closer look at the sage archetype. Here are some artist examples for the sage. We'll take a look at the brands of Kendrick Lamar, Tupac, and Dr. Dre. Kendrick's brand identity has sage written all over it. I mean, not only just with his music, but also through his activism and his beliefs. Tupac's brand could be considered the sage based on his authenticity and his raw honesty. He used his music to address issues in his community, and he makes for a powerful example of the sage sage archetype as well. Our last artist case study, Dr. Dre, fits as the sage because he's so widely known as being a master at what he does. I mean, you got old grandmas out there that can't stand hip-hop, but they still know who Dr. Dre is. The sage archetype is known for its authoritative traits. The type of colors that would fit into this brand would be colors like gray, blue, or even purple. The sage archetype will attract people that are looking for some sort of guidance and understanding, and narrowing down your fan avatar will help you in determining what other artist fans you should be marketing to, because they'll be the ones that are most susceptible to connecting with you and your brand. But moving on to the magician, for this brand archetype, we'll be using The Weeknd, Michael Jackson, and Black as our artist examples. The magician is usually tied to a brand that uses their creativity combined with some sort of mystique around it. So if you look at The Weeknd's brand, especially when he first started out, he was always incorporating some sort of mystery. I feel like this archetype isn't as common or even as practical as it once was when it comes to music artists. I mean, with everything that people have grown to expect from all their favorite artists on socials, it may be easier for you to be forgotten about and lost in the sea of other artists out there. I'm not saying that this archetype isn't effective. In fact, when done correctly, I'd say it's proven to be extremely effective. But I hope it goes without saying that your music has to be amazing. The Weeknd was able to play to his strengths and use one of his main superpowers, which is his voice. Understanding your own limitations and what superpower you bring to the table can also help you determine what's right for your brand. If you look at each archetype, you'll be able to see that each of them can play to certain strengths. Some of them give the artist more room to lean on other things outside of the music, like humor or even wild behavior. Others, like the magician, don't give the artist that same type of breathing room. Of course, it goes without saying that great music is easier to market, but if a part of your brand is supposed to be all mysterious, your music has to be so amazing that you still pop up and remain just as relevant as you need to be. It needs to get people so invested that they want to share it with everyone that they know who vibes with the same type of music that they do. But because there can be so many different variations of brand archetypes depending on what archetypes get combined together, the magician archetype can look a bit different depending on whose brand it is. With that being said, the next artist we'll use as a case study had such a rare and what seemed to be almost supernatural talent. Of course, I'm referring to the legend, Mr. Michael Jackson. The way he was able to entertain and captivate people from literally all around the globe between his stage presence and how he would sort of transform into these different characters and personas. Michael Jackson has a perfect brand example for the magician. But the last example that we'll take a look at is Black. His brand fits into the magician archetype because of his music and the way he presents himself. He makes chill and moody music and then almost presents himself with I'm chilling and I don't really care anyways type of vibe. And I feel like this allowed for him to appear more deep and mysterious, which definitely gives his brand some elements of the magician. Some other celebrity examples could be Walt Disney, George Clooney, and it seems a little bit on the nose since he actually is a magician, but you could also look at Chris Angel's brand as well. As for some company brand examples, you could consider the Metaverse, ChatGPT, or SpaceX because they each introduce products that create these experiences that people never thought were possible. Now, the magician archetype can be associated with colors like purple, black, or gold, but overall, your brand image should leave your audience amazed and with a sense of wonder. Getting creative and combining this with one or two other archetypes can make a solid and unique brand. The next archetype we'll break down is the everyman or woman, or the regular guy or the regular girl. It's known by a few different names, but whatever you want to label it, we'll just say the regular person brand archetype. Basically, as the regular person, you and your brand are super relatable and often make people feel like they already know you or that they're just like you. Looking at some artist examples, we'll use Logic, Gucci Mane, Mac Miller, and Earl Sweatshirt. For Logic, it's pretty easy to see how this brand fits into the regular person archetype. From the jump, Logic always portrayed himself as this relatable and down-to-earth artist, but Gucci might have been a surprise for some people that he was even on the same list as an artist like Logic. But depending on what your perspective is, a regular person can look different to each person making that judgment. Gucci Mane has a brand that made him sort of like the everyman of the streets. But our next example, Mac Miller, fits into the regular person archetype because of how authentic and vulnerable he was, both in his music and during things like interviews. Between mental health and addiction issues, Mac was always super upfront about the issues he was facing, which allowed for his fans to relate with him on a deeper level, especially if they're going through similar issues or even if they just know someone that's facing those same problems. Earl Sweatshirt is our last artist case study for the regular person, and just like every other example, he positioned himself slightly different than everyone else. The regular person is just a concept and can speak to whatever audience you naturally associate yourself with. Sweatshirt created his brand around his awkwardness and how he's always felt sort of like the black sheep. So even though he presents himself as an outcast and as someone who doesn't fit in, he's actually able to use that to grow and connect with the fan base that feels that exact same way. There's comfort in familiarity, and even if you feel like you don't fit in with anybody, you actually fit in with the other people that feel like they don't fit in with anybody either. A few celebrity examples of the regular person archetype could be Will Smith, Steve Carell, or Emma Stone. For company brand examples, it could be McDonald's, Walmart, or Coca-Cola. Some of the colors you could use with the regular person archetype are beige or brown or anything with neutral and earthy tones to it. You want the colors to reflect the down-to-earth type of vibe, so anything too flashy may make for a confusing brand image. And I feel like a lot of artists feel like they're just like everybody else, and if that's the case, you might want to consider incorporating the regular person archetype into your artist brand. The caregiver is the next archetype, and we know that it usually represents things like compassion and empathy, but it could also be as simple as being supportive and being trustworthy, similar to the things that you'd want to get from an actual caregiver. The artist brands that we'll be using as case studies will be Adele, Alicia Keys, and John Legend. They've each used their platforms to show their empathy and care for others, and for Adele's brand, she embodies the caregiver archetype not only based on the topics she sings about, but also be comforting and even soothing to her fans. Music is just a form of escapism, so if you're able to provide a sense of care for your listeners, the bond that they have with you and your brand will be unmatched. Alicia Keys is our next artist example, and her brand and her music are both known for empowering and encouraging her fans to not only take care of themselves, but also the people around them. John Legend's brand fits into the caregiver archetype because his music is known to be comforting and uplifting for his fans. He often sings about family, love, and community, which helps tie his brand to the caregiver archetype. Other celebrity brands we could look at are Michelle Obama, Betty White, Tony Robbins, or even Gary Vaynerchuk, because they've all been known for their compassion and for their commitment to helping others. A few company brand examples could be Johnson & Johnson, Pampers, and the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. But when it comes to color, the caregiver archetype is usually associated with calming and soothing hues like light blue, lavender, or pink. Any other similar color could be used, obviously, but you want to choose colors that help suggest a gentle and nurturing personality. If people keep telling you that when they listen to your music, it's like therapy, or that whenever they need to relax, they like to play your songs, your brand might be a good fit for the caregiver archetype. But if you feel like your brand is more on the artistic side and you see yourself as being imaginative and creative, then you might want to take a closer look at the next brand archetype, the creator. For our artist case studies, we'll look at the brands of Tyler the Creator, Lizzo, and Doja Cat. Tyler made this one easy on us, and he put the brand archetype in his actual artist name, but looking deeper than that, his unique and unconventional approach to his music and art challenges what society was previously used to. Lizzo's brand leans heavy into celebrating self-love and often promotes things like body positivity and confidence. She uses her platform to encourage her fans to fully embrace their own individuality. Our last artist example is Doja Cat. Her brand is sleek, a combination of creativity and humor, and she definitely has like a quirky vibe to her that ties well with the creator archetype. As for some other celebrity brand examples that aren't in the music industry, we could also look at Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, or James Cameron. Some company brand examples of the creator could be Lego, Adobe, MTV, or even TikTok. Obviously, the creator is all about creativity and originality, so you'll want to use bold and vibrant colors with your brand. Anything that would show energy and excitement, like red, orange, or yellow. The creator will typically use colors that suggest a bold and confident personality. Now, the last archetype that we'll be breaking down is the ruler, and not only do the brands that embody the ruler represent things like power and authority, but they're also known for simply being leaders in the industry, and they often naturally command a lot of respect and admiration. Up first for our artist examples, we have Rick Ross, Jay-Z, and DJ Khaled. Now, Rick Ross calls himself the boss for a reason. He definitely has the ruler archetype incorporated heavily into his brand. Ross has this larger-than-life type of brand that give off a vibe of power, luxury, and even dominance. But our next artist example is Jay-Z, who virtually everyone is at least aware of or knows about him. He's built his brand around being at the top of the music industry and building one of the most powerful legacies in hip-hop history. DJ Khaled is another example of the ruler archetype. His entire brand is based around being successful and powerful, or in his words, being the best. He literally uses his "we the best" catchphrase all the time, which shows his confidence as well as making it publicly known that he's looking to dominate in the industry. Other celebrity examples could be Kim Kardashian, Judge Judy, Simon Cowell, or Donald Trump. A few company brands could be like Rolex, Louis Vuitton, or Tesla. And some of the colors that are often seen associated with the ruler are ones like gold, navy blue, or like a deep purple. The ruler archetype is supposed to portray a sense of dominance and control, and these colors help support that image by creating a powerful or even a royal type of impression. Learning the psychology behind colors can help you create a cohesive brand image so that when people come across you and your brand, they can immediately identify who you are and what you stand for. That way, they can decide if who they are and what they stand for correlates with what you got going on. We all are naturally selfish creatures, and we're constantly thinking, what's in it for us? If someone stumbles on you and your brand, the last thing you want them to be is confused. Because if they're confused, that means they don't know what's going on or what they're going to get. And if they don't know what they're going to get, then they aren't able to answer that question that once again we all ask ourselves, what's in it for me? So by identifying your brand archetype, not only will you be able to establish a strong and unique brand, but you'll also be able to tap into the real power of storytelling. It's hard to tell compelling stories if you don't even know how to pinpoint and describe your own brand. As music artists, we're constantly telling stories, not just through our music, but also through our copy, which are the words we say in things like our ads, captions, or even the text we put along with like our reels or our TikToks. Just because you have a really dope logo or a color scheme that you use doesn't mean you're anywhere near finished with creating your brand. Your brand has so much more to do with your personality and how you identify yourself, and will naturally grow and evolve just like we do. You can't be afraid to experiment and try new things with your branding as long as you're staying true to yourself and your music. Learning about the different brand archetypes actually, I think, led me to overcomplicate branding even more. I got my archetypes down. I figured out what colors, I wanted to have, thinking about the psychology of colors. I wanted to craft the perfect logo and this and that. I needed to slow down. I needed to realize that this was just the basics, the understanding. And I don't want you to overcomplicate branding the same way that I did at first. I don't want you to obsess over, wait, which archetypes am I? This is just so you can vaguely understand where you fit in. And I didn't get that. When they say building a brand, I really took that quite literally, and I felt like this was me crafting something. I have to make sure this is all polished and out there, and that made it inauthentic. It made it feel like it just wasn't real. Like there wasn't a person behind what I was doing. There was no soul behind it. And even though I put my soul into my music, I didn't put my soul into my brand. And if that doesn't make sense, this next video will probably help a lot. To put it simply, the TLDR is your brand is your reputation. It's the same thing. And that is the title of section 2. Your reputation is just what people think about you, right? And whether it's at school, whether it's at work, whether it's in your personal life with your family, whatever, your friends, whatever the case is, your reputation that you have is the same thing as your brand. And if you look at those the same way, it's probably going to be helpful because it's something that we already understand. We already know how a reputation works. We already know how we fit into society in general. It only gets overcomplicated when we start thinking ourselves as more than just a person. We're a brand now. And artists, we sit on this weird line because we're supposed to take this serious, right? We're supposed to take music serious like it's a business. We are a business. Okay, so how do businesses brand? And that's where it can get a little corporate. We don't want to feel like some sort of influencer, you know what I mean? We're not doing a personal brand, but aren't we? Even though we're businesses, aren't we also people? So because it is that hybrid approach where you can have a logo and a more corporate, look to it, where you might want to have I don't know, like some record label LLC where you drop your music under, all of these different things that you can do as far as like leaning more business wise. When it comes to our brand, almost entirely we need to think about it in a way like it's a personal brand. So this next video it was made to, again, just simplify everything and to show you how many similarities there really are. Your brand is just like your high school reputation. It's all about what others think and feel about you, whether they know you well or from a distance. People are going to define you and your brand based off of the information they get, whether they're your closest friend or they're just a stranger that passes by the street. Now, a stranger, they're not going to see too much. They don't know your name. They don't really even see your face probably too well. They might just take a quick glance at you, if any at all. You might just be in their peripheral vision as they pass you by. But again, thinking about this as far as like your high school reputation or the reputation you have at your job. When you're walking down the hallway, you might see your friend, you might see your best friend, but a lot of the kids that are walking by are just kind of like background people. It's kind of like when you're playing a video game and you got the little NPC players that are just kind of doing their thing in the background. You're not putting too much attention on them. And the same way that we do that to other people are doing that to us. In the same way that works on a personal level, it works for our brand as well. So again, looking at it in high school, you have different levels of people. If let's say there's different areas. The most extreme and far out version where most of the people lie can be the gray area. The people that just walk by and they don't really know who you are, but they might take a glance and come up with a definition of who you are in their own minds anyways. It might be something that they actually consciously think about, but more than likely it's just subconscious. As long as they don't see a threat or anything like that, they probably won't pay you too much mind. That's why that one video where you got the dancing bear in the background where you're supposed to like pay attention, I forget exactly what it is, but the whole point is when people are focused or fixated on a certain thing, they're not worried about the background too much as long as there's not any like present danger that they can sense. So as many people that are walking by you, they may have some sort of preconceived definition or description of you. I hate to say judgment because I know that society tends to lean towards the negative side when they hear the words like judgment. You can call it an assessment, but we all assess each other whether we are far or close up. Now, having people in the gray zone is perfectly okay. Like I said, most of the people are going to be in the gray area, but the next level of people are going to be in the red area. This is where still a majority of the people that you're going to come across, aside from the gray area, the ones that you know their name, most of them are probably going to be in the red area, where you do know their name, you do know what they look like. If you were in Walmart, you know what I'm saying? Like, these are the people that you would recognize them. Let's say, again, trying to draw the parallel between school or work. These are your coworkers or your classmates that you recognize them. You're in Walmart, you're going down with your buggy and you make eye contact with each other, but you don't really say shit. You know what I mean? Y'all ain't friends, y'all ain't acquaintances. This isn't one of those like, oh, hey, what's up, Steve? How you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, his name is Steve, but only because like he's never really told you and you just heard somebody call him Steve and you remember his face or some shit like that. These people in the red zone, they would be able to point you out in the lineup, probably. Maybe not some of them, but most of them will probably be able to just point you out in the lineup. Now, the next area that we're going to look at is the yellow area, and these are where your acquaintances are. And some people, depending on how you label it, it might be a little bit different. Some people call their acquaintances their friends, and then their friends their best friends, whatever. These are going to be the people, again, let's look at it like school or your job. You see them at school, you see them at your work, and you chop it up with them. You know what I'm saying? You guys have a good time when you're there, but you're never getting any drinks after work. You know what I'm saying? You're never kicking it after school with them or anything like that. Those are your school friends. Those are your work friends. Those are your acquaintances that you see when it's convenient for you. And the way that you're really able to differentiate them from your actual friends that would be in the green zone would be, okay, if I were to leave this school would I ever talk to them again? If I were to leave this job and go somewhere else, would I ever talk to them again? And if the answer is no, most likely you just have an acquaintance and they're in the yellow zone. Now, these people, they know more than just your name. They know more than just what you look like. These are people, you've actually had a whole bunch of interactions with them. You're enough where if you did see them in Walmart, you would say what's up to them. You would wave at them if you saw them on the street and be like, oh, it's been a long time. And then you would go about your day. These are going to be the people that you might Facebook friend or something like that, and you like each other's statuses and posts or whatever for years, but you never actually kick it. You never actually become friends and move to that next level. The last level is the green area, and this is where the fewest amount of people are going to be. This is for your close friends, your family, your significant others, whatever. This is where you're going to be able to tell them more about your vulnerabilities, give more intimate information, show things that you generally would hide from the public, you know what I'm saying? And not necessarily hide. I guess you wouldn't disclose with the public. It's one of those, hey, can you keep a secret type of things. These, not only would these people be people you wave at Walmart if you saw them, but it's like, oh my God, didn't know you was going to be here, and you might just chop it up for a minute. These are actual friends, might even be family. These are people, again, that know information about you. If somebody asked about you behind your back, and not in like some gossipy type of way, but it's like, hey, I'm about to do a project with such and such. Do you know who that is? Be like, oh yeah, that's my dog. Like, you know what I'm saying? Might start talking about you in a good way, and then depending on what type of information that they have, they're going to fill in the blanks with how they describe you and all of the different adjectives and characteristics that they would see you as to these people. Now, the people in the yellow, they might do the same thing, but they'll be like, oh yeah, so-and-so seems pretty cool, blah, 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 and they might still fill in a little bit of information that they have for you. The difference is the people in the green says, oh yeah, so-and-so is cool. The people in the yellow says, oh, so-and-so seems cool. That's the difference between an acquaintance and a friend. And the closer that you can get people into the green zone, the better it is for your brand. And you might be thinking like, XO, man, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know about you, but I have a small circle. I don't have a whole bunch of friends. And, me too. That's actually the very same for me. But this isn't one of those friendship things. This is, yes, we're talking about how it can be compared to your high school reputation or your reputation at work or wherever, whatever social standing that you can relate to, right? Yes, we're trying to compare them, but these are two sides of the same coin that can still be flipped around and looked at separately. Now, when it comes to your brand, you don't need a whole bunch of friends, of course, but you do want people to look at you like they know you. And the best way that somebody feels like they know you and that they are friends with you is if you actually show some of the things and do some of the things that you would to people in the green zone. And later we're going to talk about how we can move people from the gray area over to the green area. But for now, I just kind of wanted to look at each section and kind of think about what those people know. Again, the gray area people, they don't really know anything. They kind of maybe know what you slightly look like based off of what you are dressed as, and they don't know your name. The red people know your name and what you look like, but they don't know who you are. The yellow people, they know more about who you are, but they're not friends with you. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't really be able to say without a doubt, confidently, this is who this person is. But the people in the green, those are the ones that they're like, oh yeah, so-and-so does this. They believe in that, and they're able to fill in so many blanks because you've given them so much information. Again, somebody's able to define you based off of the information that they're given. The further out they are, the less information they have. The closer in they are, the more information that you've given them and the more opportunities you've given them to, fuck with you and your brand. People judge you based on how you dress, talk, and carry yourself. They put you in a box even if they don't really know you. And we all do it. We all judge other people based on how they dress. Fuck you. Tell me you don't. Tell me you don't judge people. And I don't mean in like in a negative type of way. I know that's how society looks at it. So let's change that word. We assess people based off of how they dress, how they talk, how they look, how they carry themselves, how they present themselves to the world. And, we could look at some examples. We're looking at these two people right here. What are the first thoughts that you think of? You might think of what type of things they like to do, what type of music they like to listen to, what type of personality might they have. And you're going to fill in the blanks however you would fill in the blanks. That would be different than me because it's only based off of your perception. And your perception is based off of all of the different things that you've come across in your life. So, meaning if you see these people and all of your closest friends and your family, they looked and dressed exactly like them, you're going to at them as like familiar. You're going to look at them as like friendly, cool, whatever the case is. For me personally, just to give you an example, like I see them, I'm seeing like rock music, screamo rock music. He's got gauges on, and I'm guessing, I can't really see his fingers, but I would say he probably has like black fingernail polish. The girl probably has gauges as well, and some tattoos, even though I can't see any. And what's crazy is I don't know these people at all. These are just two people that decided to pose for a picture. And just based off of how they're dressed and how they present themselves, I was able to fill in the blank. Whether it's accurate or not, it doesn't really matter. And you could talk about, oh, people see me a certain way, but that's not the real me. That's your fault, bro. Especially if we're talking about your brand. Like your brand, it's your responsibility, it's your duty to actually shape the narrative of your brand. So yes, I'm filling in the blanks of these people based off of what I see, whether it's accurate or not. You know what I mean? Let's say you had somebody that I don't know. They broke into your store. You're a store owner. They broke into your store and they look just like that. You know what I mean? You might look at them as like just troubled teenagers. I don't fucking know, man. What I'm saying is it's gonna change based off of your experiences. This next person right here, I'm looking at an athlete. He seems like he just lost a track meet or something. You know what I'm saying? He's down on his luck, but definitely getting an athletic vibe. And you might have actually came up with your own definitions. You'd be like, oh, I wouldn't even think about that. Or what's crazy is you might have thought the same thing as me. Again, it doesn't matter if it's accurate or not. All we're doing is quickly assessing people based off of the information that we have. This next girl, I'd say she's definitely a student of some sort based off of the notebook. She's smiling really bright. She seems like, she feels like her whole life is in front of her. And I don't know, she's just happy. That's just me trying to fill in the blanks based off of how she's dressed, what kind of props she has. So not just how she's dressed, but also the notebook that she had, and then her smile. Her smile made me come to the conclusion like her whole life is in front of her. She's not a student that's just like, oh God, I gotta go to another class. She's happy about it. At least that's the vibe I got. She might be stressing and breaking down on the inside, but that's the vibe I got, and that's how I defined her based off of the information that I was provided. But the facial expressions that people have is just as important as the way that we dress. You know what I mean? Like the first time that you see somebody, depending on what their face looks like, you might come up with your own conclusions. An example with this girl right here, I'm thinking friendly, kind. She just heard a joke of some sort. She just is in a good mood, good spirits. These are the type of feelings that I'm getting and vibes that I'm getting just based off of her smile, a genuine smile that I'm seeing. But if you take that same girl dressed the same exact way and you give her a facial expression like this, and now I'm thinking like troubled, somebody might have, pissed in her Cheerios or some shit. She definitely needs to be watched. Look out for this one for sure, And this is the same girl, same outfit, two different facial expressions. And depending on how I saw her or how you see her for the first time or how people see you for the first time, that's going to dictate how they define you, how they look at you, how they will later describe you if they ever have to, if somebody ever asks. And it's not like it's just happy or sad or up or down. These facial expressions go all over. Looking at all of these, I'm seeing goofy, I'm seeing stressed out, I'm seeing worried, I'm seeing sleepy, I'm seeing angry, I'm seeing a whole bunch of different emotions, and it's all the same girl in the same outfit. And it's not like she's a special snowflake or anything like that. You can look at this girl too, having different facial expressions, and you'll come up with different characteristics and assessments, not judgments. We're going to not use judgments, right? So it's not too negative or whatever, but we're going to assess her based off of what we see. And this is something that is really easy to understand when it comes to us as people. Like, yeah, of course, she was smiling, and of course I'm going to see her more as a lighthearted person. And if you're over here frowning and always seeming like you're in a pissy mood, that's kind of how I'm going to look at you. Of course that makes sense, but we don't really look at it as far as our brand. What is the facial expressions that you make in your content? It's not just like while you're doing shows or out in public or whatever. What kind of facial expressions are you doing in your pictures? Are you doing the classic nigga stoic, where you don't do any emotions? Are you constantly smiling in your videos? It's not even just a still image in your videos. What are those like quick resting faces that you're letting out? And I'm not trying to say this to have your anxiety bar going crazy, you know what I'm saying? This isn't something to overthink. The whole point of bringing this up is so that you can recognize that these are things that people are, I don't want to say using against you, but they're using to define you. They're using to characterize you and assess you, judge you, whatever word you want to say. They're using this as more and more information. Like, okay, so and so is dressed like that. They talk like this. They have a facial expression like that. They're starting to make a little laundry list, if that makes sense. And that's kind of what we do as people. That's how we're able to say, okay, straight line here, straight line there, and that's a square. And we kind of just characterize things, shapes, people, animals, all of these different things, words, and that's how we're able to make sense of the world around us. What you do matters. If you're a musician, athlete, or have any other interests, that'll define you in people's minds, especially if they don't really know you. There's a reason why when somebody meets someone else, a typical first question that people have is, hey, what do you do? It's a way that we're able to characterize somebody. Again, a lot of this is using the same words because we're doing the same thing. We're just using other bits of information. And here's just another one. Just like how we look at how you dress, how you talk, how you look, what you do plays a part in the way that people define you. And yes, how you dress does play a part, and this might seem the same, but it's just similar. It's not. It's a little bit different because what you do sometimes will come with a uniform. And what do I mean by that? Yes, I could mean a specific uniform like like you're at a job and you have a uniform and they're forced to put on a material uniform. But it could also mean like a type of outfit, a type of vibe, a type of style that kind of shows who you are. And you don't need to know what somebody specifically looks like. You don't need to know their name. You don't really need to know much more than, oh, I could tell that this person does this. And then that will help you fill in the blanks with all of these other things. And if we look at some examples, we see this person right here, even though it's a silhouette, I guess the music notes kind of help with this, but I'm definitely seeing a musician. If the music notes weren't there, I'm seeing a speaker of some sort, somebody on the stage that is presenting. But obviously with the music notes, this looks like a musician. I don't need to see what they look like other than that. I see all that I need to see just based off of what they do, based off of the props that they have around them. In this next silhouette, I don't see what they look like. I don't see their skin tone or anything like that. All I see is, that's a football player. And that's how powerful it is just looking at the uniform that you have. And a uniform is nothing but something that shows other people what you do. You know what I mean? Like I said, something like this, a football player, you almost have to wear your uniform. You have to wear the jersey to play. But a musician might do things like, for me, an example, I have a microphone right here on my inside of my arm tattooed. And since I've gotten that, and honestly, ever since then, people will see it and they'll be like, oh, you do music? It's one of those things where it's like, all right, it's a uniform that I decided to put on myself, and a football player will decide to put on that uniform, be part of the team, and you don't need to see who they are underneath that. And if you even try, what's crazy is if I said something like, okay, what is the color of their jersey? What color did you think of? What was the first color that you thought of? Is the football player, are they big? Are they fast? Are they like a big football player that's on the line? You know what I mean? You were able to fill in all these blanks based off of how you see a football player. And it's kind of hard because the more you think about it, the more you catch yourself intentionally characterizing him a certain way. So it's almost like one of those, hey, what's the first thing you thought of? Hey, when you thought football player, what did you think of? Like, what kind of personality does a football player have? It's just like that first thought. Because then you might go to correct and be like, but factually, I don't really know. Yeah, but what's that first thought? And that's why so many of these definitions that people have, especially in the gray area, are just based in the subconscious area. You know what I mean? Like we're not consciously thinking like, oh yeah, that football player right there is probably like 6'3" wide receiver. You know what I mean? Like, because that's how I see a football player is you're catching the ball. But maybe because I caught the ball when I played football, but maybe you ran, maybe you were on the line, maybe it was none of the above, and you were bullied when you were in school by a football player. So you see this silhouette and you're like, man, I don't know who they are. I don't know what color jersey they have or whatever the fuck, but he's probably an asshole because football players are assholes. And that's just kind of how the world works. This next one, it looks like a student that just graduated, maybe high school or college. I see curly hair, so they're probably black or mixed. We got a construction worker. I mean, I can't see a face. I don't see a nose. I don't see eyes. I see nothing. Nothing at all. But that hat tells me that you're a construction worker. And again, based off of what your experiences were in life is how you're going to define this person. Let's say, you know what I mean, you had a dad that was an alcoholic. And I don't know why I keep going like down the dark roads, but let's say you have an alcoholic dad, right? And he would come home drunk every single day and he would beat your ass. And he was also a construction worker. So you see a silhouette like that and you just instantly just get triggered and you're like, oh, fucking drunk bitch. You know what I mean? Like you really don't know who they are. All you could do is judge them based off of the information you have. Looking at this motorcyclist right here, I mean, I'm assuming they ride a motorcycle, but who's to say they don't ride what do they call it, like a scooter or a moped or whatever? You know, who's to say? I said motorcycle. What did you think? I mean, you might have thought motorcycle too, but you might have been like, man, my brother got a scooter and he wears that helmet, and that's what you thought. Now, if I asked you what color is the helmet, what color did you think? I thought black. I think I see all black with the tinted out visor right there, but that's just because that's what I saw. Or maybe you saw your favorite color. Again, the only point I'm trying to prove with that is that we don't really need to know anything else other than the surface level of information. We see kind of how you dress, kind of how you talk, kind of how your facial expression is, kind of what your uniform is, what you wear, and we can have all of these assumptions and preconceived notions in our head about who that person is. And anytime you see a majority of people doing that, it would be like egotistical and narcissistic to think that people aren't doing the same thing to you. If you think that somebody isn't just taking one quick look at you and judging you, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I got tattoos on my face. If you think that I don't go into the store every now and again and I see the owner just look at me, side-eyeing me and shit like that, I understand. Like, I get it. But it would be really weird if I was just like, nah, man, like, you better not judge me based off of what you see. Like, you should see more of who I am. And, like, you start getting weird. It's like, bro, but you don't. You judge other people. I'm sorry. Is that too harsh? We can't say judge, right? You assess other people. You characterize other people based off of the smallest bits of information. Who you are as a person shapes your brand and reputation, just like in school. If you're an asshole, word gets around fast, and people treat you that way. If you're known to be funny, people will expect to laugh or smile when you talk because that's what they've learned to expect. You could probably think of somebody that makes you laugh, and anytime they go to talk, like for me, it's Kevin Hart. Like, bro makes me laugh so much. As soon as he goes to start talking, I'm just like smiling. Like, I catch myself smiling. Like, okay, well, what we about to laugh about? You feel me? And the same thing goes with people you don't like. You know, if you see somebody that's always mean and rude, and they come up and they, you know, they're usually on that rah-rah shit, they could be doing the most normal thing, and then you still just kind of like side-eyeing them, looking at them some type of way. Like, man, this motherfucker, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to look at them some type of way based off of your past interactions. And what's crazy is you could have one person that acts the same way with two different people, and both of these people are going to characterize them in two different ways. While one side calls you nice or friendly, the other side could just call you a pushover. You got one side that calls you smart or intelligent, and the other side just thinks you're a know-it-all. You might be looked at as funny or, you know, real goofy or something like that. And then the other side just looks at you as a mean and rude person that just takes it way too far. And even though, yes, people will judge you based off of your personality traits, and even though you can have one side completely think that you're a cool person and the other side just think you're an asshole, it's okay. The whole point of a lot of this is just to be self-aware, to be aware not only of how other people judge you, but be aware of how you present yourself. That way, if anything, if somebody's just like, man, you an asshole, you can kind of just stand next to how you are and be like, yep, I mean, you might think so. That's cool. Like, I'll be all right. Who you hang around with affects how people see you. This is as true for you as it is for your brand. That's why brands drop celebrities who get into trouble. I've talked shit about this saying multiple times, but that phrase, don't judge a book by its cover, man, it's so fucking stupid, and it's the complete opposite of what anybody does. I don't know why you would ever ask anybody not to judge a book based off of its cover, because that's just kind of what we're instinctually trained to do. You know what I mean? We're trained to kind of look at everything and not judge, but assess, right? We have to assess if that's a danger over there. We have to assess if there's any threats over there. This is how the cavemen were able to survive, and, eventually here we are. But this isn't as serious of a situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like we're sitting there having to assess threats constantly, making sure there's no wolves in the dark or anything. But that little switch in our brain that has us constantly assessing things, constantly, again, organizing them and characterizing things, that it's really hard to switch off. How do you not judge a book based off of its cover? If you were to go in the library and all you saw was the cover, what are you going to judge it based off of? It sounds really sad, and I'm so sorry if this hurts your feelings, but the best story is able to go unread if it's underneath the ugliest cover, the most unappealing cover, the most I don't want to open this cover. You can have the best story. It doesn't fucking matter, because people are going to judge you based off of how you present yourself. You could be the best employee ever, but if you go into an interview with, like a wife beater with like some mustard stains, you feel me? You got no shoes, just a hole in your sock, and you know what I'm saying? You just come up there like a bum. Do you think you're going to get hired? If you're like, man, nah, if you just give me a shot, like I'm the best worker ever, what the fuck ever, man, you are not getting that job. Like, it's not realistic. And again, people are able to see this with stuff like that. They're able to wrap their heads around it with stuff like that. But when it comes down to the people we hang around, again, companies will drop a celebrity if they start getting into trouble. You know what I mean? Like, even if like it hasn't been proven or anything, it's just like, oh, y'all talking all this shit. Fuck them, because we are not with them. We ain't with nobody. We with us. Brands and companies are so quick to do that. Why do you think that is? It's because just like how we judge books based off of covers, we judge people based off of who they are around. And I don't look at that as a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, if a teacher were to walk into a classroom and they have 30 students in there, 2 of them are doing nothing at all, but you got 28 kids going crazy, ape shit, talking shit, yelling, going all bouncing off the walls and shit. Do you think that teacher's like, man, I got 28 kids in here that are just crazy, and I got 2 perfectly good angels? No, they're probably thinking in their head, man, this classroom has lost its fucking mind. Like, you know what I mean? They're going to generalize the whole entire classroom. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to judge every child in there based off of what they see, the information that they're given. And to really drive this home for you, I look at judging somebody based off of who they have around them the same way as you would judge a word that you don't know what it means. And we're just assuming that you're not going to go to Google and search this shit. But if you don't know a word, just like if you don't know a person, and they're around all of these other people, or they're around all these other words, and you wanted to learn what this word meant, you would read all of the words around them, and you would use the context clues around that word and try to guesstimate or figure out what that word actually means. And yes, you could always just go and, search on Google or whatever, but if you're using context clues, that's what you got. It's not like you can just see somebody and be like, hey, let me go Google search them. You know what I mean? Like, you're just going to make a quick judgment based off of who they are, how they dress, how they look, and who they're around. Most people understand how their reputation works in school or at work, but when it comes to branding, they get lost. If you were on an interview, or you're on a first date, you just met somebody, whatever the case is, you probably would have no problem if they asked you questions like, hey, what do you like to do? What are some of the things that you're passionate about? What do you like to talk about? What are some of the things that you believe in? You'd probably be able to fill in these blanks fairly easily without overthinking about it. As long as you have some sort of self-awareness and you kind of know who you are and what you stand for. That is super important. Just full disclosure, you need that shit. I guess you don't need, but it is truly helpful to authentically be yourself if you know who you are authentically. But yeah, man, so if somebody asked you these things on an interview in a first date or any other personal situation, you probably would have no problem answering. But when it comes time to define your brand, that's where a lot of artists get stuck. It's when it's like, okay, well, I got this color palette right here, and I got this dope logo right here, and that's my brand, right? That's kind of all I know. And the sad part is, looking at your brand like that is the same way as you looking at your shoelaces as your outfit or your tire as your car. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a small little piece of the puzzle, my guy. And one of the easiest things, this isn't some company, this isn't some corporation where you slap a logo, you slap a mission statement and a color scheme, and you just say, oh, here's my brand. This is why you don't stand out. This is why, and by you, I mean anybody that follows this type of branding. Nobody talks like that. Nobody's like, hey, who are you as a brand? It's like, oh, here are my colors, here's my logo. It's like, the fuck? It's just so much easier to say, hey, like who are you? Like, what do you like to do? What do you believe in? And the day that this became a lot easier for me was the day that I realized that these two brands, both my personal and real life, and all of the different aesthetics and logo, color, whatever the fuck I was thinking with my brand before, all of these things go together. Yes, have a logo. Yes, have a color scheme. Have like a font that you like to use. Have some sort of, these are all like small little details where people can just kind of recognize your brand. But the meat and potatoes of your brand is you. That is the part that can't be replicated. Anybody could take those same colors and then copy that. Anybody could take your logo, make a better version of it, and be like, damn, now they got a more fire version of me, and you be all salty and shit. It's because you thought your brand was your logo. When it's like, no, you are the brand and your logo is just a part of it. Like, you feel me? Like, that's just something. And for the most part, nobody even really fucking cares about your logo. I hate to say it. Nobody really cares about what colors you choose. I hate to say it. I'm not saying that they're unimportant. I'm saying compared to the meat and potatoes of your meal, bruh, you're just eating the crumbs. Like, you're just focused on the shit that's falling off the side of the plate when you're not even focus on cleaning your plate. You feel me? Like, I don't know, that analogy kind of got lost on me, but you know what I'm trying to say. Just like you can go unnoticed in school or at work by keeping to yourself, the same thing happens with your brand. If you stay silent, your brand stays invisible. And kind of thinking back, to school or a job, any type of social settings like that, this might have been you, or you might be able to think of somebody that was more shy, more reserved, kind of kept to themselves, never really talked to anybody, never really opened up or anything like that. There is the loner that kind of sticks to themselves and they don't really see anybody. And even though they feel like they don't share anything, people are still going to be around them, judging them constantly, defining them constantly. They're going to come up with their own definitions, their own descriptions and judgments based off of the information that they have. And the loner that is by themselves, of course, is going to be different than the loner that kind of kicks it with other loners and they're just on the wall chilling. You know what I'm saying? So they're not really alone. They're just like alone together. That, I guess, could be a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? Thinking of it as a branding perspective. You can position yourself as a brand that's like, I'm the loner, emo kid, whatever the fuck you want to go with. I'm not going with that. My whole point is being the loner that's actually alone. Being the loner that actually doesn't say anything to anybody, that doesn't share anything with anybody. How that looks in real life, you have no friends, you stay by yourself, you get judged anyways, even though you never shared anything because probably you were too scared of being judged. But again, you get judged anyways. But that's real life, right? And if you're done with school, who fucking cares, right? Let's think about what really matters, your brand. As an artist, how does that look? If you're the loner that doesn't really talk to anybody, doesn't really share anything with anybody, nobody really knows you, you're the enigma, the mystery, that's cool, except nobody really thinks about you. How that looks on social media is you just got no posts. You never really get mentioned because you never really mention shit. In school, you could be known by many people on the surface level and fail to ever form a deeper connection than that. It's the same with branding. An artist can manage to get noticed and still fail to connect with an audience by showing deeper, more personal sides. And I told you that we was going to talk about how you could bring people from the gray area all the way to the green area. You know, how do you speed that process up? How do you make people feel like they can go from complete strangers, then they feel like they know you? Where if they ever did meet you in real life, they're like, man, like this is my dog right here. Like this is my friend. Like, you know, I could go up and talk to you and it not feel weird and not feel like I'm just talking to a complete fucking stranger. And we already defined the different areas, like the gray area, the red, the yellow, the green. And now we're going to look at this from like a reverse engineering type of standpoint. You know, how can we give certain information to speed up this process? So layer one, of course, you could just show how you look, show who you're around. And it seems real simple, but again, that loner that never posts anything on social media, this is that first step that will help people start to get more information. Let them start filling in these blanks. Layer two, you're sharing what you do, you're sharing your name, you know, you're putting more posts out there. Again, this is kind of thinking about it from an online perspective, but this could work in real life too. Like this, there's so many different similarities. I'm just trying to, I know most artists are going to be building their brand online. So it's almost better to kind of look at it from that standpoint. Layer three, you're going to start sharing your beliefs and your personality traits. These are things that people are going to love to see. They're going to see you more as a person. You know, they're seeing what you actually stand for. And it doesn't have to be the most controversial things. I'm not talking about, you go talk about like politics and religion and I don't know, like abortion rights and shit like that. You don't have to talk about anything controversial like that, but you still have beliefs that you stand by. You still have things that you feel and things that you can say. You know what I mean? Like you're a person. Show your whole size. Show that you're more than just an artist. And the last layer is layer four, where you show who you are. And the way you show who you are is honestly just by repeating all of the last layers over and over and over consistently. People see you differently based on their perspective. The same goes for your brand. Good branding allows you to effortlessly attract people who will love you and repel the people who won't. The point of building a brand isn't to be loved by everybody. If you are building a brand trying to be loved by everybody, or somebody told you that that's what you should try to do, honestly, like you're playing the wrong game. You're trying to scale a mountain that has no fucking top. Like you're just going to keep going. It's impossible to be loved by everybody. And to kind of think of like an extreme example, let's think about Donald Trump. You know, I live in the United States. Half of my country hates him. Half of my country loves him. You know what I mean? It's something that he has gotten people to super attract to him or super repel from him. And it's because he's putting more information out there. It was never his goal to be liked by everybody. It should never be anybody's goal to be liked by everybody, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to be liked by no one. Because again, let's look at it as like a product standpoint, right? Let's say I'm going into the store and I get a product. Cool, this is a product just for me. Even though I love this product and I would use this product every single day, there's going to be people that come into this store and they never even look at this product. Like people in the gray area. There's going to be people that look at the product, but they don't really need the product. They're not really interested in the product. It's not really something that's helpful for them, and they never use it. Now, if this company that was selling this product, if they're like, yeah, we're getting people in, but not everybody likes us, not everybody's interested in us, and they just started changing what their product was, and now they've geared more towards the people that didn't really like them, that wasn't really interested. Now they have a product perfect for them. That seems cool, right? Except when I go in and I go to buy their product, and just all the people that are just like me going to buy this product. Now we're going to see a product that isn't what we originally liked. It isn't what we originally signed up for. And now we're going to see like, oh, now you're just making products for them. Like I don't know what you stand on. And seeing this as a person is, okay, buddy said he like this and now he's all like that. It's like, man, he's fake as fuck. Like that ain't real. Like if anything, I can respect somebody that does something I don't like, but they stand next to it. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to take a fucking shit, like stand next to your shit. You know what I mean? With your arms crossed, like, yeah, smell it. You know what I mean? Like what? Like I don't know. I don't understand the idea of wanting to be liked by everybody, because again, it's one of those things where it's out of fear of not being liked. So you do these hula hoops, gymnastics, where you're flipping around being this way to this person, this way to this person, and instead of a two-face motherfucker, you got like many faces. And when they finally all kind of get together and I'm like, wait, that's how they are with you? I thought he was like this. Oh shit, I thought they was like this. Oh, and now all of them end up stop fucking with you. So the thing that you were scared of, the thing that you were trying to avoid, you end up getting that times however many, just because you weren't yourself and stand next to it. And that's why self-awareness is so important, because if you don't know who you are, it's really hard to stand up for what you believe in. And I'm not saying this in a way like you can never change. You have to be rigid. If I say I believe this, it's stuck like that. No, like, I mean, openly be like, hey, I did believe this. I got new information and now I believe that. Hey, I was interested in this. I kind of fell off. I'm interested in that. That's the natural evolution of a person. Are people going to fall off from that? Yeah, they probably will. But that's okay. That's the natural progression of your brand. The key to shaping your brand and influencing how people see it is self-awareness. Once you know what you stand for and what you believe in, you can use it as your guide. The last thing you want to do is give somebody a pen and let them write your story. You don't want to give somebody a microphone and let them narrate your life. You want to take control of the narrative of your brand. And the simplest way to do that is just consistency. Consistently be authentically you. Tell people about the things that you like to do outside of your music. Yes, you're a musician. Yes, you're an artist. What other things do you like? Show that you're more than just a jukebox. That was my mistake. I was thinking like, man, I gotta be professional. I gotta be just the artist. Show what other things you like to do. Talk about things that you ordinarily like to talk about, things that naturally have you interested, naturally have you passionate about it. Speak on things that you actually believe in. And this could be a variety of things. Like I said, it doesn't have to be controversial. It doesn't have to be some big, oh, are you on the red or the blue? Are you Christian or are you whatever the fuck? You know what I mean? Like you don't have to do these big controversies. You could just say, hey, I believe in this. I believe that this should be how, this is what my diet is. This is how I meditate. This is how I whatever the fuck. I don't know who you are. You know what I mean? Like fill in your blanks. Don't let other people fill in the blanks. That's how you get people from the gray zone all the way to the green zone. Because again, just like fucking Donald Trump, people can love him or hate him. He's just putting it all out there. And that's what so many people are scared to do. And I think that's what so many artists are letting hold themselves back. They're not putting themselves out there. They're so scared that they might be judged, that they might lose fans, that they might fuck up their branding because they can never change it when it's just a fluid thing. It's just like you. If you were a football player in high school, you don't have to be a football player all your life. If you were, you know what I'm saying, like on the fucking debate team, you don't have to always debate the rest of your life. If you had anger issues in high school or at one of your first jobs or whatever, you can work on that and become a person that isn't angry all the time, that doesn't have anger issues. And then later, people will be able to judge you and define you, characterize you, assess you, whatever words you want to say. They'll be able to do that based off of what they see then. You don't have to stay who you were. You can just show how you transform. You can show how you evolve. My point is, these examples are everywhere. Whether you look at celebrities, whether you look at high school reputation, your reputation at your job, whatever. Branding is simple. Branding is easy. It's as easy and simple as breathing. See, I told you, your brand is just like your reputation. It really is as simple as that. And in this next section, we're going to make it even simpler because section 3 is called Artist Branding in 3 Steps. If you feel like your branding is suffering right now, then it's probably because of either one or a combination of these next 3 steps. And you can either be following the step, not following the step, or lastly, you could be following the step but not be doing it authentically. And authentic is kind of a muddy word, right? It's kind of cloudy. Like, what does that mean? It's kind of confusing. What is authentic? And I'll break down specifically what I mean for each section. But essentially, man, if you replace authentically with genuinely, you're already going to be on the right track. That's going to help you look at this the correct way. But let me show you what I'm talking about with step 1. And the first step is going to be your music. It's hard to do the whole music artist brand thing without music, right? And it's not just about putting your music out there and actually releasing it onto the different platforms. It's obviously a lot more than that. And I go into depth about different strategies when it comes to releasing your music, on what type of content you could put out there to stretch it out as much as possible. But essentially, you want to take your every single song and then just kind of plant as many seeds of it as possible. Get it out into the world as many different types of ways as possible. And that of course could be short form content through like TikTok and Reels, even like YouTube Shorts, but you also want to have different variations of your song. You might want to speed it up or slow it down. You might have a acoustic version. You might have a clean version if it's explicit. You know what I mean? You might want to put a lyric video out there, a visualizer, a music video. You might want to perform it live. You might want to break down your lyrics. There's so many different cool things you can do with your song than just, okay, I released it, it's out on Spotify. But it's not just like you're checking the box, okay, I'm putting music content out there. You got to make sure you're also doing it authentically. And like I said, what does authentic mean? How do you genuinely put out music? I mean, this is me. Like, I'm putting out my music. Like, that's about as real as it gets. What I'm saying by that is you're not just putting music out there hoping that this is what will be accepted. Like, this isn't actually who I am as an artist, but I think this is what's going to be successful in the market. And I'm not saying to not pay attention to what works. If you put out 10 songs and 2 of them pop off more than the others, look at the few details, the little things that you actually do that change the outcome of the performance. You feel me? I'm not saying to just ignore your fans. I hate when people say that you should be making music solely for yourself, that you shouldn't be making music for other people. I wholeheartedly disagree. Yes, start with yourself. That's where the authentic part comes in. You start with yourself, but then you also keep your audience in mind. You keep in mind what they've already resonated with, what people already respond to. Doing it this way is going to make sure that you give your music the best chance possible to succeed while still remaining genuine to yourself. You don't want to, if you're a hip hop artist, you don't want to sit here and put out a whole bunch of K-pop music because you feel like that's what's in. You feel me? You don't want to just try to fit into all of these different groups of people just because you feel like that's what will help launch your career. That's going to be sniffed through almost immediately. You feel me? Like and by we I mean people, humans have this great ability to just sniff out authenticity, and we might not be able to put it into words. We might not be able to actually say like you doing this and that is so fake, it's so inauthentic. You might not be able to put it into those words, but it's more just like, I got a feeling like something is just off with this person. And the more that you're just putting shit out there, and by shit I mean actual shit, it could be the best song ever, but if it doesn't mean anything to you, it's shit. It doesn't matter. Let's say it does pop off. Let's say you put a K-pop album out there and you're a hip-hop artist and your K-pop album pops the fuck off. I mean, it probably won't because you're not being authentic, but for shits and giggles, let's say it does. Now you're gonna be stuck in this K-pop shit. You can't even be you. That sounds like hell. That sounds like a miserable existence. You feel me? So genuinely putting music out there as yourself is going to be the strongest start to getting your brand. And I say start because this is where a lot of artists end. And I was one of these artists for the longest time. I thought as long as I put out enough professional quality content, that's going to do as all that it needs to do. It's going to make my music pop off as much as it can. You feel me? Like, just put my head down and keep putting this shit out. Keep pumping out the best quality content that I know how. The best lyric videos, the best music videos, the best whatever the fuck that I can do. And I'm not saying you're sitting here looking at everybody else that's putting out music and saying, I gotta be the best. Whenever I say the best, personally, I mean the best version of yourself. Like, I'm doing better than I did last year, and next year I'll be doing better than I am now. You feel me? The constant need and desire to improve and get better. But this was a mindset that I would eventually just have to grow out of. And it was because it wasn't true. I continue to put out as much quality content that I could, the best work that I knew how, the best songs and music that I knew how to make, right? Burying my head in the sand, putting my hands together with a wish and a prayer, hoping that eventually all my dreams will come true. It doesn't fucking work. And I'm not saying that, you can't buy a lottery ticket and somebody's going to win that bitch. All I'm saying is, bro, I don't play the lottery. You feel me? Like, I ain't doing no scratch offs. I'm not letting my music career be gambled with like that. I'm not taking that risk. And for the longest, I just was ignorant. And by ignorant, I mean like simply just not knowing. You feel me? Like, I didn't know. And I just left it at step one. And like I said, you fuck up your artist brand by doing or not doing one or a combination of these steps. Step one, that's the beginning. A music artist needs to put their music out there. Come on. If you ain't doing that step, can you call yourself an artist? But step two can be a little bit more complicated. And honestly, by complicated, I don't mean complicated. I mean, we overcomplicate that shit. It's simple as shit. Like so many things. Like, you know what I mean? You want to be healthy? What do? You eat right and you work out. It's super simple. But we as people overcomplicate it. I don't want to do that. You know, how do I get it to work for me by not doing any of that shit, but still getting all the muscles and all that? You know what I mean? Like, we like to overcomplicate the most simple things. And just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy. But step two is you just show who you are. You show who you are so people don't ask, who are you? And the more you can put yourself out there, the more people can actually relate to you. The more that they can connect with you as a person. Not just you as an artist, you as a song provider, you feel me? You're not a service provider or somebody that's just dishing out music like some fucking jukebox. You're an actual human being. Somebody that they can feel a connection with. Think about how when you're watching a really good movie or TV show and the acting is just A1, like you believe, like you actually get into the world, you believe every second of it. This is really happening. Think about how connected you feel to those people, the more of their story that you actually get to come across, the more that you actually get to see. And it's only because as the story continued to go on, you got more and more information about the character. You're able to connect with them on so many different levels because of what you've seen. And just like the last step, it's not going to be as simple as you're either following it or you're not following it. You know, you could also be following it but doing it inauthentically. And that's the last thing you want to do with this step, because this is who you are. The last thing you want is somebody to think that who you are is inauthentic. Like that is who you are. Like who you are is fake. You're not real. You are just some, paper mache facade that is put together to appease and get approval from all of these fucking people that you don't even know. Fucking strangers on the internet. Like nothing is more lame than that. Nobody wants to be a fucking fan of a goofy ass motherfucker. And that's exactly what that is. And I'm not saying this to anybody that may be inauthentically putting themselves out now. I'm not saying this to like razz on you, you feel me? Like to just get on your ass like that. But I'm just trying to wake you the fuck up if this is you. Hopefully you're following into it where you're either doing this or you're not doing it. But if you do happen to fall into that third category where you're doing this but you don't feel like you're authentically putting yourself out there, just ask yourself why. You feel me? Like, and it's real easy to know if you're actually putting yourself out there genuinely as a person. And here's a good test. Before you start to, let's say you're doing a podcast or you're going live, do you feel like you have to get into character? Like you're doing some performance? Like this isn't you going on stage. This isn't you, singing or rapping or whatever your music. This is just you being you. You're not performing. You're not acting right now. If you feel like you're acting, you're probably doing it wrong. When you do a podcast, if you feel like I gotta, make my voice sound very good and all smooth and clear like a podcaster would, fuck all that. Man, like, how many comments on this channel alone, people like, they'll say something like, bro, like, your voice is giving me, like, bad vibes or some shit. Where, like, I remember one time I was sick as fuck. I put a video out there and I got shitted on in the comments where people like, bro, your voice is mad, like, uncomfortable. Like, it's grating as hell. And I could have been like, damn, like, that's fucked up. Like, I need to make sure that I'm always, like, this A1 podcaster, and every time I get on the microphone, I'm saying it exactly how you should, kind of like people in the news, and fuck all of that. There's a reason why people are drawing away from all that. Yes, there's going to be people that they hear my natural voice, and not my sick voice like that day, but my natural voice like right now, and they're like, what the fuck? He just sounds weird. Or they'll just look at me and be like, he just looks weird. Or whatever the fuck. He acts weird. He does whatever. And I can't get wrapped up into that. I can't sit here and try to perform for you. Like, I'm not doing that. I might be an artist, but I'm not performing for you. I am not going to be your dancing monkey. And that same type of energy is what you got to bring out to your fans, to your people. You can't try to be performative for them. You can't try to act like something that you're not, because like I said earlier, they're going to sniff right through it. They're going to see right through that bullshit that you be putting out. And doing that might be worse than not putting anything out, period. You feel me? And before, I kind of brushed past some of the tactics on how you can put yourself out there. How do you showcase who you are as a person, not just an artist, not just somebody who makes their favorite song? How do you showcase you? You can do stuff like podcasts, and I'm not talking necessarily about something like this. Ideally, you don't want it to just be you. Like, there's nobody else in this room besides me right now, and it kind of fucks you up. And that's just being 100%. Like, it's been years that I've been doing this, and it still kind of feels weird. And this is as somebody that has spent over half their life making music and performing and shit like that. Like, that shit is second nature to me. This is weird. But getting on a podcast where you're just talking to somebody and you're having a conversation, it's only weird if you're weird doing that normally. And then I guess, that's authentic, right? But typically, if you're just having a genuine conversation with somebody, it could be your friend, it could be a stranger that you think is very interesting, whatever, I would say come up with some podcast where you could just sit down and talk to somebody. There's no easier, better way to just show who you are. And naturally, the things that you believe in, the things that, you put your foot down on, and this is like wholeheartedly what I feel about this certain scenario, these things are naturally going to come out in conversations. And it's not going to ever feel performative, and I guess ever is, never is actually a bad word, because I guess it could still feel performative. If you're still that person that's like, I'm acting right now, and you just kind of turn into this character as soon as you turn on the camera, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not gonna, you might as well just not do it. And step 2 might actually be one of the most important parts of your brand. And yes, like I said, music artists, step 1 is important. You got to have the music. But you as a person, that's foundational to your brand. Who you are is going to dictate what type of music you make, what type of songs you write. You know what I mean? Like, all of this shit is going to stem from you as a creative. Now, step 3, without this one, you might come off a little bit boring, a little bit flat. Like, man, what does this guy even do? All he does is make music, and yeah, I kind of know about him, but that's it? Like, that's all you are? Name one person that has one interest. Name one person that does one thing. Name one person that the only time they ever talk to you is about the shit they believe in and the one thing that they do. Like, it's boring. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit like, that doesn't seem real. That doesn't seem right. And for the longest, I honestly thought that was naturally who I was. I was like, man, I don't do anything else. I want to showcase what I do, but what if I basically only make music, and I'm writing the music, and I'm mixing the music and making the beat, and I'm researching marketing, and if I'm not researching it, I'm actually trying to do the marketing. If I'm looking up different content ideas, if I'm not doing that, I'm actually like making the content or editing the content. There's so much shit that goes with this. What if that's all I do? And that fucked me up. It fucked me up for a long time, because then I'm like, I am boring. And that's something that's probably already crossed your mind. I've heard it so many different times from different artists that I've spoke to. And, we like to say, like, bro, we're nobody special. Like, I'm just like everybody else. Why would I put a camera on my life? So you can see me, what? Feed my dog? Work on some music? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like a musician would? Yes, I want to put that out there, but what else do I have? And at first, I was like, see, this is where you can start to incorporate things you do. And if you don't do anything else, you can start thinking about the future. Like, what else do you want to do? And for me, when I first started, I was like, okay, once I pop off with this music shit, I would love to get into movies and maybe even make my own movies. And I just like had this whole like fantasy with that. And I'm like, why do I have to wait? Why do I have to wait until I pop off? Especially now, 2025, where popping off doesn't have the same definition as it used to. Like, you know what I'm saying? We don't have record labels coming in and saving nobody. We don't have anybody like becoming superstars like how they used to be. And I'm not saying people don't go viral. I'm not saying people don't have millions of fans and listeners and all that shit. What I'm saying is that the curated, all right, we have the Beyoncés and Jay-Z's and J. Cole's and Drake's and whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? I'm just like listing A-list celebrities. They have all these A-list celebrities that those are the top dogs. Now it's like, man, what a time to be alive. You can have a million fucking fans and nobody really knows who you are. You could be a full-time creator and nobody really knows who you are. You know what I'm saying? You can kind of be a superstar in your own little pocket, in your own little niche. And again, at first I was like, okay, instead of just thinking about what I do now, let me think of what I want to do in the future, and I can start showcasing this now. And the more I've talked about this, the more that my idea with step 3, or the third dimension, what I like to call it, has really started to evolve. And we want to be 3-dimensional artists. Like I said, just having the step 1 and step 2, you're kind of 2-dimensional. You fall flat. Nobody really looks at you as a person. Even if you're starting to show more of who you are as a person, like you're still like, yeah, you're the music guy. That's all you do. So again, when I say that it's evolved for me, what I mean by that is it doesn't have to be so deep where it's like, yeah, like my fantasy was to create movies, and it's like this big thing, like this big monstrous idea that I had. Like once I had my music career where I wanted, then I'd be able to move on to movies. Why can't I do that now and incorporate that together? Why does it have to be like that at all? Why does it have to be so big? Like at the end of the day, my music is the main thing I'm putting out right now. What if what I do is just something simple? What if, like, I don't know, like I like to collect stamps. That's a bad one. Who collects stamps? You know, if you're a stamp collector, you know, put it in the comments, goddamn. You feel me? For me fucking sleeping on y'all motherfuckers. But damn, that's a bad one. Let's say though that I'm really into nutrition and working out. You can start doing your workout plans and shit like that. Put it on camera and have your music in the background. Actually show what you eat every day. Start doing these other things that you're incorporating. And it's not like one of those, okay, now I'm rigid and stuck onto, I'm the nutrition guy. I gotta continue to show workouts or whatever. Let's say you like to swim. You also like to swim. So the next day you end up going to the pool, set up the camera, just show a little something where you're just talking some shit, or maybe you got your music in the background and you're by the pool. You show you're diving into the pool. Something so simple. And I know it seems like, yeah, okay, what does that do? It's because now you're able to incorporate your music. Like I said, you got your song in the background, or you're just talking to the camera a little bit. So you're incorporating step 2, showing yourself, while also showing yourself do other things. You're not just somebody who makes music all day. You're not just some fucking robot that is there to, you know what I mean, pump out songs. You actually have a life. You have other things that you do. And then you showing this is going to be the way that you can round out your brand. That it's not just going to be some flat fucking 2-dimensional thing that people are like, oh yeah, the music guy, the music girl, of course they got a new song. It's hard to connect with that. And then just kind of, you know, referring it back to TV shows and movies. Like if you look at a lot of these different characters in your favorite shows and movies that you connect with, they show you bits and pieces of them from all different angles. You know what I mean? Like it's not just, and I'm just making shit up. This isn't actually any, you know, film or show or anything like that. But let's say, you know what I mean? You got the kid that is, what are they called? The valedictorian. They're the top student, but then they also are really into, in fact, this will actually will be helpful. We're going to use a real example. Let's say it's Bel Air, right? You got the Carlton dude. Dude is smart as hell. I think he was like up for valedictorian. He's one of the smartest people in his class, the president or whatever the fuck. He's got shit going for him in Bel Air, right? But then he's also on the lacrosse team. You feel me? He's like the only black kid on the lacrosse team. So he's dealing with all these white people saying nigga, and he's got all of these things he's dealing with while behind the scenes trying to fit in there. And then he's still trying to be the top athlete while still trying to be the top student. And then put it on top of that, he also has a drug problem. And then, you know, on top of that, you're showing some of the cars that he likes to drive, some of the clothes that he likes to wear. And I could keep going on this whole Bel Air kick. It's a good show if you haven't seen it. You feel me? You know.
I've led you all to believe that I'm worthy of this award, and I'm not, because I'm a drug addict.
Sorry for the spoiler if you didn't know that Buddy had a drug problem. They gave Carlton a drug problem. But for real, man, like you can use any fucking story. You can use any artist and that has a good, solid, round brand you'll see different angles that you can look at them. It's not just like, you know what I mean, here you are, a person that puts out music. Here you are, you know what I mean, a valedictorian that just does nothing but study all the time, or a lacrosse player that does nothing but play all the time. Like, you have all of these different things that make you you. And I know this was a long-winded way to say you need to showcase all of you authentically, because doing this inauthentically, just like I said, it's not just doing it or not doing it for step one and step two. The same is for step three. How do you inauthentically show what you do? Well, you start doing shit that you don't even fucking like. Like, you don't like to swim. Why are you diving? You just wanted to show off your chest? You feel me? Like, you don't eat well. Why are you showing your nutrition plan? You feel me? You just want to show that you're healthy or something like that? Show genuine things that you actually like to do. Don't try to fucking front for nobody. Like I said, you're not performing. You're not acting. You're not being anybody else. You got to be you. That's what people are going to draw to. That's what people are going to fucking fall in love with. So putting out all of the different things that you do that don't actually serve you, that aren't actual passions for you, it's just going to, again, be sniffed out by your fans. It's going to be read all over your face. Like, you don't really enjoy this. This isn't something that you genuinely like. And like I said, not everybody's going to be able to articulate that and put it into words. You know, it's going to mostly be something just feels off. Like, my gut is telling me that something ain't right. And it's not going to be one of those things that they think about too heavy. They're just going to move on, because people generally are attracted to things that feel right, that do fit their vibe already. You want to make sure that everything you put out is a true representation of you. And I'm not saying that you can never change. You feel me? Let's say you are somebody that's big into swimming right now, so you're constantly having content by the pool. That could be something that changes. A year from now, you could hate the water. You feel me? Like, you don't have to stay the same. In fact, before I simplified the way I looked at all this, there was so many things that I heard about artist branding that turned out to be complete bullshit. So for this next section, I'll give you 7 pieces of no bullshit advice on artist branding. Number 1, nobody cares about your logo, color scheme, or the font you use. People buy into your music, your personality, and your story. And I feel like this is one of those things that it's real easy for an artist that's first starting to make that transition from I'm doing this as an amateur and this is a hobby to I want to take this seriously and maybe make this a full-time career at some point. During that transition, I feel like it's super common for an artist to fall victim to this first mistake. You know, it's real easy to get locked in on the aesthetic parts of your brand. You know, you want to portray yourself as a professional artist now. I'm not just doing this as some hobby. Like, when somebody says, hey, you still make music, you almost get insulted. Like, what you mean? I'm an artist. Of course I make music. I'm going to make this a full-time career one day. I'm going to feed my kids, my family with this shit one day. It's real easy to get touchy in that moment, to let our egos take over. And maybe you're so much more well-equipped to this than me, because when I first started out, I guess looking back slightly in a way in the back of my head, or maybe, you know, completely out in the open, it was very transparent. I was trying to prove to everybody else and myself that I'm legit. I can do this for real. I'm professional. I gotta get the logo. I gotta make sure my aesthetics all look right. I gotta make sure my Instagram grid is perfect. Every photo needs to look professional. I can't keep doing these little, you know, iPhone selfies and shit like that. I gotta do this shit just like real famous artists are doing it. If I ever want to do that shit, if I ever want to be that shit, I gotta act like this shit now. I gotta act successful if I want to be successful. And I guess that's where the whole fake it till you make it comes in. And it's okay to want to portray yourself as professional even before you have it all together. I'm not saying you're necessarily going to lie or be inauthentic, but you want to show that, hey, I take this serious. This is something that I actually want to do. I'm not just playing around in my bedroom making, you know, a couple songs here and there and it just happened to sound good. No, like, this was intentional. This was something that I planned and I knew was going to come into fruition, or it was actually going to happen with my hard work and determination. During that transition, musician, it's real fucking easy to get caught up in the fucking small things. Your logo is awesome, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It might look good on a beanie or on a shirt or whatever, but it really doesn't fucking matter. I'm not saying to just ignore it. I'm not saying to ignore what colors you use and ignore what font you want to use. That's all good for recognition. Once you start to create a fan base and you have people coming back again and again, they're going to see your logo, they're going to see your colors and your font, and they're going to be like, oh, yeah, that's Buddy, or that's old girl who be doing that. Whatever the fucking case is, you can fill in the blank with whatever aesthetic part that you want to make sure is consistent and congruent every time you put something out. But it's not where you should put your focus. It's not what actually makes up your brand. I said it in the last episode. Looking at your logo as your brand is kind of looking at your shoelace like it's your outfit, or looking at your tire like it's your car. It just doesn't make sense, and you are focused on the wrong thing. You can actually get by without a fucking logo. You can never do a logo and be fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just one of those things where we look at other artists, or we look at even corporations and companies, and we're like, well, they have a very good brand. You know what I mean? Apple has that logo that everybody knows. I don't even have to say Nike without you thinking of a check mark right after. Like, isn't that what we're supposed to do? But the difference between us and them is they're a corporation. That's a company. Of course they're going to have a logo. They don't really have a face next to it. We're closer to a personal brand than we are a corporate company brand. You feel me? And again, I'm not just dismissing logos and colors and all of the other parts of branding. I actually have videos that cover all of that. All I'm saying is, if you're putting all of your attention, all of your focus onto that one singular thing, then you're missing out on the most important part of branding. And it's not your logo, it's not your colors, it's not your font. Number 2, generic artists aren't forgotten. They're never remembered in the first place. And that's something that a lot of people will hear and they'll get sad. They'll get real sad because they're like, man, I wouldn't say I'm generic, but I'm for everyone. I'm something that everybody can enjoy, and I'm sorry, that's not the way to go. You won't ever be remembered that way. You're sitting here trying to appease everybody, to be the artist for everyone. You're going to end up being an artist for no one. You're so generic, you're so plain that you blend in with the background. You don't actually stand out. You don't stand for anything. And standing for nothing at the end of the day just makes you boring. It makes you just like everybody else. You don't want to be like everybody else. You want to be you. And this isn't some knock on everybody else. Like, fuck everybody. You're a special snowflake. You got to be unique. Fuck all that. You already are. We are all unique. We're already original if we're just ourselves. The problem is we see different groups and clusters and tribes of people, and we're like, man, I don't want to be on the outs with them or them or them. I want to be accepted by everybody. And it's one of those things where it's almost impossible to do, and you'll drive yourself fucking crazy. You'll drive yourself mad up the wall trying to do it. Number 3, a brand means sticking with something long enough for people to remember the association. And if you think about it, that's basically all that branding is. Anytime I run into somebody I went to school with in the grocery store or something, they usually see me and they be like, hey, you still do music? And that's because when I was in school, I already was positioning myself as a musician, as an artist. And the longer you can associate yourself with something else, the more likely it is that somebody remembers that you two are right next to each other. And that could be people, that could be something you do, something you wear. For an example, I could drink a bottle of water every single podcast episode. I'm talking about, like, if I just down this shit all the way. 1, it would be weird, so it would stand out. You'd probably like remember that shit. But 2, if I did that one video, you might be like, okay, that's odd. Like, the fuck did he just do that for? But then if you watch the next video and I did it again, like, man, he did the bottle thing again. And if I just continuously did that episode after episode, I never went one podcast episode without downing an entire bottle of water, you might start to expect that I would down a bottle of water the next episode. So you see a new episode of Indie podcast come out and you're like, man, I bet he's about to, drink a whole bottle of water. And if I didn't, that's what's even crazier. If I didn't one day, you're like, what the fuck? It would throw you off. And this is assuming this is somebody that's paying attention. You know what I mean? You could wear the same shirt or hat every single day, but if nobody really pays attention to you, or they see you one day and then they see you the next month, they're not really making the association that this is something continuous. But if assuming you have a fan base and they're actually watching you, and you start to do things or say things or act like whatever, you just start to have some sort of consistency with you and are able to show an association with other things. Again, this could be what you do, this could be beliefs that you have, whatever the case is. The longer you do that, the more likely that this fan base that you have will remember that. The more ties that they'll be able to, tie you to, or more things that they'll be able to tie you to, rather. Because your music, as far as I'm assuming it is, I'm not sitting here saying that it's not good. I'm just saying it's not as important as you think it is. So the more that you're able to associate with, this is the music that I put out, this is the beliefs that I have, these are the things outside of music that I like to do, the more things that you can associate with, and the longer and more continuously that you do it, the more likely that somebody's able to remember that. And that's all the more powerful for you and your brand. No bullshit artist branding advice number 4: stop hiding behind your music. People connect with people. And as good as I'm sure your music is, as much as I'm sure people are connecting with it, and when they hear it, they love it, it can do so much more. It has so much more potential if you show the person behind your song. Because let's say there are thousands and millions of people that actually do enjoy your song. If they are just connecting with your music, how much more powerful do you think it would be if they're able to find out more about the person behind the song, behind one of their most cherished memories, because it's not just a song that people grow connections with. It's all of the different things that they do while playing the song, the different memories that they have attached to it. If they're able to see more about the person, the artist that created not only that song, but was almost a part of those memories, it's inevitable that they actually form a deeper connection with it. And I'm not saying that's going to be for everybody. I'm not saying every single person that loves your song, when they find out more about you, they're going to just love you and adore you. No, you know what I'm saying? Some of them might be like, oh man, this person's a clown, it's a dickhead, whatever the fuck. You're going to have people that might not see you the way you want to be seen, that might be rubbed the wrong way. But the ones that do form more of a connection with you when they do find out more about you, it's powerful. It's powerful. They can actually connect with you in different ways. Not only did you make this song that I love, you share some of the same beliefs as me. You are showing me some of the things you like to do. What the fuck? I like to do that too. The more you can show about you, the more that they can connect with your music. So as much as you can put your music aside and it's not about your music, it's about you, it kind of loops back around, because it's also, about your music. The more they know and love about you, the more they connect with you, the even harder they are as fans for your music. The more that when you come out with a new song, when you come out with a new project, they're like, what the fuck? You came out with a new project? Oh my God. They get excited. You know what I'm saying? Like you friends, you family, they have a connection. When they see you, they actually feel like they know you. This is why you see so many podcasters, and I'm not talking about people like me that's doing educational. I'm talking about the podcasters that are just putting their personality out there. They're just doing like lifestyle podcasts. They're just talking about shit that interests them, not just trying to educate people and, give value through information. I'm talking about they're just showing who they are. Those people, when they go out in the real world, this is why you hear them tell stories like, man, people really come up to me like they know me. Like you would swear that these people were like, oh, hey, yeah, you're so-and-so. And it's like, oh shit, I thought we went to school or something. No, I just have seen so much content with you that I spend more time with you and I know more about you than I do my friends in real life. So you feel like a friend. If you can form that same connection with people, man, your music is just going to go up from there. Like I said, we're closer to personal brands than we are a corporate brand. You feel me? And yes, we got products. Our music is a product. Any content we put out is technically a product, but ourselves, like our stories, is something that can't be duplicated, and people can do nothing but connect with it. And that shit is powerful as fuck. Number 5, you can't be original and also be like everyone else. You have to pick one. And I know I said earlier that a generic artist, they aren't forgotten. They're never remembered in the first place. This is a little bit different. Let's say you're not some general artist where you're like trying to be for everyone. Let's say you found a lane that you want to stick with. You know what I mean? You found a niche, so to speak. But then once you're in that niche, you're looking at other artists and other successful people that are in that same niche and lane, and you try to start to replicate them. And I'm not talking about when you're first starting out, you know what I mean? I'm talking about like when you're first making music, and you might look at some of your favorite artists and you hear how, they might put one or two less syllables in their lines than you, and they put more space in between lines, and you know what I mean. You could start to get little tips and tricks like that when it comes to the actual making of the music, as long as you're not again sounding like some copycat. But we're talking about branding right now. So with the branding, you don't want to be some clone. You don't want to be some duplicate. Whether it's your music, whether it's your personality, how you just portray yourself in general, you don't want to be known as anybody else. And I feel like, again, it's a common trap that artists fall into just because they see what's successful. We see all of these artists that are doing these amazing things that we want to do too, and this must be the way to do it. You know, we have, like I said earlier, we have to get the logo. We have to be aesthetically pleasing. We have to get the professional photos. When it's just like all you have to do is be you. You don't have to look at all of these people and try to copy them. Trying to be original is something that is super easy. It's something that you don't really have to think about. It takes more work to think about being like everyone else, because you're constantly having to analyze, like, oh my God, they do it like that. They do this like that, and they talk like that. All of that bullshit that you would have to fucking analyze. Like every single fucking micro movement that you do, you have to be like somebody else. One, that sounds like a personal hell I would want to get the fuck out of. It sounds miserable. Why would you want to do that? But two, not only that, it's not going to work. You being a replicate or a clone of something else, you know what I mean, is just backwards thinking. It's going to just give their brand and their name more airtime. You know what I mean? Like whenever you're mentioned, let's say you do pop off. Let's say somebody finally shares your fucking song and you just go viral through their shit, or whatever the fucking case is, where your shit just pops the fuck off. And then they finally see you. And when they see you, they're like, oh, this that motherfucker looks just like, they act just like, they sound just like, they talk just like, they believe the same things as you. Don't want to be a fucking clone, man. You want to be you. You don't want to be able to stand in a lineup of a whole bunch of other artists and all of you, you know what I mean? You got somebody in there like, God damn, I just don't know who it is. You want to be in that lineup and somebody sees you, be like, oh no, it's not them. Like that's a whole nother person. You feel me? Again, it's okay to get little tips and tricks when you're first starting out on the actual technical side of making music. Like, oh, that's how you do melodies. I really appreciate that. Let me incorporate that. In fact, I feel like that's kind of what music is like an art. That's why, in my opinion, music just keeps getting better, because an artist basically grows up on music, and that could be different genres, different styles, different artists, and they finally say, hey, I want to make music, and then they can get little bits and pieces, put themselves in it, and just kind of make a blend and a new thing that never existed before. Again, that's just my 2 cents, and I feel like that's why you see all genres in music. Personally, you know, fucking fight me in the comments, man. I feel like all genres are just getting better. You know, it's something that we're able to continuously, it's like technology. We're continuously able to see, that's what they did. And the last generation is just building more bricks and stacks for the next. But either way, you don't want to be, I guess bricks was a bad analogy, because you don't want to be a brick in the wall. You know what I mean? If you're a brick in the wall, you want to be like, what the fuck is that brick doing there? Oh, that ain't supposed to be there. You gotta be original. You gotta be authentic, and it's not something you gotta overthink. That's the good part. The good news is, if you were doing the opposite, if you were sitting here trying to be an exact clone, and it's one of those things that is hard to admit to yourself. Like if you're constantly, and I mean constantly, getting comments from people where it's like, oh yeah, you sound just like, maybe you shouldn't take it as a compliment. And as much as I know it sounds weird because you probably look up to this person, that's why you're aspiring to be more like them, don't take it as a compliment. Don't take it as an insult. Just take it and be like, duly noted. I need to be more me. And that's more than just your music. You put more of you out there. Fuck what your music sounds like. You will be your own person. Imagine. And I guess this will be my last example, just to show that it's more than just the music, because it's easy for us as artists to be like, man, you sound just like. But think about how Snoop Dogg acts. You feel me? Like this is like, he's been grandfathered in. Like bruh still raps the same as he did from back in the fucking, I don't know, 80s, 90s, whenever the fuck he first started popping off. You know what I'm trying to say? Bruh still raps the exact same way. But taking his music aside, how does he act? We all know how fucking Snoop Dogg acts. You feel me? Imagine if somebody tried to clone that. If they tried to act exactly like how Snoop Dogg acts. They watched every single interview, and it's not even one of those things where you're doing it intentionally. Maybe it's like one of those things where you're an American and you go live in fucking London for 10 years and you come back to America and you got kind of a British accent, but not quite. You feel me? Like that shit starts to rub off on you. But if you're that person where you're sitting here and you're just obsessing over an artist and you're just looking at them as such an aspiring figure, it might start to creep into the shit that you do, the shit that you say, and the shit that you put out there as an artist. You got to be careful with that, man. It's so much better to be you. At the end of the day, even if you pop off, the last thing you want is for people to look at you, look at another artist that's so much more successful, because again, usually it's artists that have already paved the way. And that's why people are like, oh my God, you're just like what? That's the last thing you want. When you do pop off, I'm gonna put all that if aside. You do the work when you do fucking pop off. It's gotta work, or it's gotta fucking work. You feel me? When you pop off, the last thing you want is for somebody to compare you to anybody else. In fact, just know that that's when the clones are going to come. That's when people are going to try to act just like you. When you're truly original, people will start to act just like you, put out shit just like you. And that's when you're like, ah. Number 6, you matter as much as your music. You can accept that or stay small. And I feel like this is a pill that will be really hard for a lot of artists to swallow. Because we put so much time and energy and focus and all of that into our music. It's like our little babies, right? And when we're finally done with it, we just put it out into the world. At least that's how it is for me. Assuming that you are somewhat the same, that you put energy and real effort into your music, like that's the whole point, right? We're artists. It's music fucking first. Like always, always. In fact, all the other content that I put out, the videos and the fucking reels and TikToks and all of that fucking shit, as cool as it is to get comments and likes and all that, man, nothing compares to putting your music out there. Nothing compares to seeing your music actually get streamed. And when you are putting out content out there, it's the content that means the most for me, that impacts me the most, is my music, is the one that has my music attached. And then I'm getting DMs and comments about my music. And I know it might sound egotistical, but that it's kind of like a reinforcing loop. Like, not only am I putting this out there, people are actually connecting with it. And fuck it, whatever, call it whatever, egotistical, narcissistic, whatever. I, as an artist, fucking like it. I think that's why a typical artist, like a painter or something, or an actor or a director that puts out movies, you know what I mean? Anybody that puts art out there, even a fucking chef, they, like, a part of it is seeing somebody eat the food. It's seeing somebody go, my God, like that bite right there. You feel me? Like that has to be part of it. And I'm not a chef. I'm not somebody that puts all of my energy into that. But assuming that because it's all art, in my opinion, I assume that that has to be a part of it for everybody, right? But as much as our music matters to us, as much as our music matters as a part of our brand, you feel me? We matter just as much. You matter just as much as your music. Not like, okay, here's my music and make sure you put your personality just a little bit. You matter just as fucking much. You feel me? Like 1-to-1 ratio. In fact, you might matter even more than your music. Kind of like what we were talking about earlier. You don't have to have the best song, the best music. You know what I mean? Like, that's all relative. That all depends on who your audience is. And if you have a fucking group of people that are connecting with you, like genuinely connecting with you, not just like, oh yeah, they're entertaining. I mean, they're connecting with you. Like, they feel some sort of kinship with you. You feel me? Like, they feel like they know you, sort of. That's only possible if you put out enough of you out into the world. You feel me? Once they've spent hours, and I mean hours, I mean like literally put all your videos together, and can you say I've put hours of myself out there for fans to have, to just ingest, or whatever the fuck, to listen to watch. I don't know. You feel me? Like, to have and to actually connect with. It's more than just your music. It's so much more. And even when you are portraying your music, when you have your music out there, what is your video that accompanies it? You feel me? Like, if you have a music video, what type of stories are you putting out? What type of feelings are you putting out? What type of emotions are you bringing out of people? All of this shit matters, and all of it should come from you. And instead of letting people just fill in the blanks and try to guess at who you are and all of that, you got to show more of you. And I know I've been beating on that nail basically since we started this video, but it is important. Number 7, some people will hate you and some will love you. Instead of trying to be liked by everyone, use your brand to help them make a decision. People pleasers please no one. And I hope this don't make you sad. I hope this doesn't hurt your feelings that some people just won't fucking like you. They just won't. They won't like you, man. They'll look at you and it'll be just the way you look, the way you talk, the way you fucking dress. There might be somebody right now that doesn't like me. In fact, actually, that's probably not true because you probably would have already clicked off. But whatever. My point is, there's going to be motherfuckers in this world that just don't like you. That just look at you and they're just like, there's something about you, man. There's something about you. Your music is your personality is worse. Your fucking wardrobe is even worse than that. Like, you know what I mean? They could just start fucking going in on you. And these are all things that you're like, damn, but this is me. And you can't feel attacked by that. You feel me? Like, you can't feel like, oh my God, like I'm not loved by everybody. There's something wrong with me. And this is something that we honestly are taught when we're very young. You know what I mean? There's people when you grow up that just don't fucking like you. And just whatever. Like, it is what it is. You probably won't know it for the most part. You know what I mean? Unless you were bullied or you were such a dick that people actually said something, but you probably don't even know a fraction of how many people didn't really like you. I don't know even a small percentage probably of how many people just looked at me and was just like, no, there's something about him, man. Just get the fuck away. You know what I mean? Because like for the most part, I'm optimistic about the world. People aren't really that rude. As many ninja warriors there are out there, as many people like to talk shit online behind their fucking anonymous accounts, in person, in real life, most people aren't like just openly rude to you and just look at you and be like, bro, I don't fucking like you. I don't like the way you look. They just don't engage with you. So the same way that happens in real life, it's going to happen online. And yeah, like I said, you're going to have some trolls that comment and they're going to let you know. They're going to let you know, man. They're going to tell you how they feel. And at least, you know, they told me, and every time a troll told me how they felt, it just made me kind of smile. Because I know that there's still just a small percentage. Like, damn, well, shitty. I know you and probably a whole bunch of other people feel the same way, but guess what? I'm me. And at the end of the day, I can't be anybody else. It's too much work. It's too much fucking energy to be like anybody else. So you're either going to love me or hate me. But as much as that's kind of like a, you know, other people don't like me, even though I was just doing me. I didn't think my song sounded that bad. Like, goddamn, I mean, shit. You know, let me hear what you got, you know. But as much as that shit can just pop up and you might have regular human emotions and it might make you feel like, damn, should I change this? Or damn, does this song suck? It has nothing on the amount of people that come in and be like, yo, this really hit for me. I really connected with this. Whatever, because some of them are just like, you might just have like a party song or something, but if you have like an emotional song, people actually messaging you, telling you like how much they connect with this, how it saved their life, like crazy fucking shit where it's just like, yo, like for real? Like, are you just saying this? And even if you are, like, I'll never know. So I'm just going to take the fucking W. Man, people are going to love you and people are going to hate you. The ones that hate you, they're just kind of like, okay. At the end of the day, all I'm saying is it's impossible to be liked by everybody. It's not even something that you should try to do. And like I said earlier, the generic artist that tries to please everybody, they end up not even being remembered at all. But let's say you found your lane. You're not replicating somebody else. You're you. You're your original self. Once you've decided and gone all in to be authentically you, there's no going back. And you hopefully once you did it, you feel that? You feel how easy and freeing that shit is? How it doesn't feel performative anymore, like you're putting on some fucking charade, or like you have to feel like you're some sort of professional artist, how you could just be you. You know what I'm saying? Like beautiful, miraculous you. Like do that shit, man. It feels good, don't it? Now that you've done that, don't let these motherfuckers bring you down. Don't let any negative comment make you feel like you're not doing what you should be doing. Because if anything, it's really showing that you're going in the right direction. Because for every person that doesn't like you, there's going to be somebody out there that does. And you want to get through as many of those motherfuckers just to get to the people that do like you. You can't let these people actually dictate how you present yourself to the world. They can either love you or hate you. And that's honestly all your job is. That's what your brand is meant to do. It's meant to make people decide. So when people come across you, they can quickly say, you're either for me or you're not. And when I used to do door-to-door sales and they were training us on how to do this shit, right? One of the things they would say is, you're going to get a lot of no's. Like, you're going to be knocking a lot of doors and a lot of people are going to say no. Just know that every single no gets you closer to a yes. And it's one of those mentality shifts that when you get a negative comment underneath your music or a video that you put out, whatever the case is, when people put things out there that possibly could make you question how you're presenting yourself to people, that's when you just need to take a pause and be like, this is supposed to happen. Like, I'm supposed to get a no, right? That just means like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I put out enough information for somebody to make a decision. That's all that your brand's meant to do. It's just to make people decide. Do you like me? Do you not like me? Do you love me? Do you hate me? Do you want to hear more of my music? Do you not? I want to put out so much information that you're not able to say, I don't really know about them. For the next section, I wanted to end it with a repeatable system that you'll be able to immediately use and implement for your own brand. So last but not least, we got section 5, the 30-day artist branding blueprint. It took some time when I was first putting this together to make sure that it was relevant to both beginning artists that are just starting out and more advanced artists that have been releasing music for years. I wanted to make sure it was useful for you no matter where you are in your journey. But I did put together sort of like a checklist that you can follow just to make sure that you're ready to go through this 30-day process. For the artist requirements, you want to make sure you've released at least one song on music streaming platforms. You're only going to need 3 things for this. The first one is going to be a phone, of course, a smartphone that you'll be able to record video and things of that nature so you can make content. The second thing you're going to need is a solid internet connection, which should be no problem if you're watching YouTube right now. The third thing that you're going to need is a YouTube channel. Of course, you don't have to stop there. You can add other optional things to improve your production quality. So things like lights, you can upgrade your camera instead of using your phone. You can use a microphone, again, instead of using your phone or AirPods, whatever you're using. You can continuously try to update everything by 1%. Another thing that's kind of like an optional add-on are other social media accounts. Of course, I said a YouTube channel, and that is going to be needed throughout these 30 days. There's no getting around that. But other things like Instagram, TikTok, what other platforms that you actually like to use and promote your music on, you can use those as well. Now, a couple of things with this framework, even though I'm calling it like a system or a blueprint, it's not so rigid. It's not where you have a specific amount of content that you need to post, and if you don't do everything to a T, it doesn't work. It actually was built with some, fluidity in mind. You want it to be something that you can transform and evolve and kind of make your own. As a creative, I was able to empathize with the fact that having some sort of structured, you need to do this, here's step 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can never deter from that plan. It kind of takes the joy out of the creativity. It kind of feels like you got homework in this whole music thing. And I'm guessing that's not why you got into this, to feel like you have homework that you have to do. You have these steps that you need to take step by step, or you failed. You already fucked up. The other thing is the YouTube channel. Of course, like I said, there's no real getting around that, just because it's the best platform for long form content, and you'll see later why that's going to be so important. But as far as all the other social media platforms, there's nothing specific that you need to be on. I'm not saying you need to be on Instagram or TikTok or any specific platform aside from YouTube. So this is where you can decide what's best for you, how much that you can handle. The only warning I have is just make sure that you're not overextending yourself by trying to be on a whole bunch of different platforms. I would rather you go all in on YouTube, be 100% on this one platform, than pick 5 different platforms and be like 20% in on each. You feel me? You're going to end up having more momentum, gaining more leverage by just focusing on one platform and going all in. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that once you've kind of got the ball rolling there and you know that you can dip over here to Instagram or TikTok, again, whatever platform that you actually choose, that of course is going to be a good move. You'll end up reaching an audience that you may have otherwise missed if you would have just stayed on one platform. You just got to make sure you're self-aware enough to know where you are in your journey, what you can handle. Again, you don't want to be overextended. But let's go ahead and get into this 30-day framework, starting with day one. The first thing that you want to do is kind of take the temperature of your audience. You want to look at all of the data that you already have and see what is being engaged with the most, what people are resonating with the most. And this might be a little bit different for you, obviously, if you are just starting out. If you are that beginning artist that you just released your first song, you don't have any fans, you don't have any streams, this is one of those, you kind of have to go with what you have. Even if you're just starting out and you have 3 songs out, but nobody's streaming it, nobody's really a fan of anything, again, you kind of have to go with what you have. You kind of have to trust your gut. And honestly, I would just say you test all 3 of those songs in that instance, because you'll end up getting more from the data that you receive by testing it. But let's say you're one of the more advanced artists where you've had songs out for years and you already kind of know what people are rocking with. You want to look at what people are currently engaging with, what people are, making stories to, what they're adding to their playlist, whatever type of metric that you want to look at, because there's so many that are given to us now. You kind of just want to take the day to see what is working for you. And yes, I know you might have like a new song that you want to push. It's like that's your new baby. I know what that fucking feeling is like. I'm not saying don't push that song. You just need to be aware of what other songs that you have that are already doing well. You feel me? Kind of putting a metaphor or an analogy. I don't know which one is fucking which, but think about Coca-Cola. When they came out with Cherry Coke, they didn't stop selling Coca-Cola. You feel me? Like, they didn't stop producing their bread and butter just because they were trying something new. They didn't know if it would work. Then they have like vanilla Coke. They probably had all these different flavors, and who knows how many were put out to the market and then recalled because it didn't do the numbers that it was supposed to. My point is, you want this first day to kind of look at where everything settles, where the numbers lie. If you have a song that naturally is doing better and it's been doing better for X amount of months or years or whatever the case, you can still put that into rotation. You can put your new song in a rotation. When you're collecting all of this data and ready for this 30-day period, I'm not saying you're going with one song and that's your one song for 30 days. Fuck that. Again, did Coca-Cola just say, I'm going to just put out Coca-Cola and never try anything else? You gotta know where you are in your journey. Coca-Cola at first only put out Coca-Cola, which is why if you're a beginning artist, you kind of have to go with what you have. You kind of have to just try to push out your music where it is now. I'm not saying stop creating music, but don't keep trying to put out more music and never market it, because you don't know if you're going in the right direction. You don't know if you're even making the type of music that would get the feedback that you're wanting. You feel me? And at the end of this, you should have some sort of idea of what you want to promote for the next 30 days, whether that's 1 song or 3 songs or 5 songs, whatever. If you have some sort of test where it's like, man, these 3 songs right here, they my top ones right here. This is my new song that I know is going to do numbers. And these 2 right here, they've been getting streams for months and I don't even promote it. You got your squad, you got your 3 Musketeers, your A-team, you're ready to go. You feel me? You got your 1 song, your MVP that's just ready to go. This is the day where you figure that out. That way, day number 2, when that day comes, you're not confused. In fact, by day number 30, you're not confused because you already know exactly what you're dealing with. So that'll be day 1. We already got our test day. Day number 2, this is your first content day. And you're going to have actually multiple content days, or 2 that are scheduled, and then you'll be able to create content whenever. So day number 2 is going to be your first content day where you're going to actually set time aside and create content for the music that you selected on the previous day. And this is going to last for 3 days, so you're not scrambling trying to get everything done on that first day. But we're going to focus on the different variations of your song that you can put out there on YouTube. So let's say you have a song and it's explicit. You can make a clean version. You can speed it up or slow it down. You can have an acoustic version. You can have a live performance video, a lyric video, a music video, a visualizer. You feel me? There's so many different things that you can do, and this is your time to do it. After that, the next thing that we're going to get are the different clips from these long form videos. And all of them won't be able to get clips from them, obviously. But if you do have a visualizer or a music video out there, it's going to be real easy to get 10, 15, 30 second, 60-second little clips that you can put out as shorts, or if you decided to do other platforms like Instagram, TikTok, whatever, you can put them out there as well and repurpose them. Either way, you can save these same clips and then use them later once you do decide to branch out, if you are just sticking on YouTube at first. So you have your long form out there, you have your short form out there, but you don't want to just rely on your clips for your short form content. And of course, it's going to be super useful. You're already putting that content out there. Why not repurpose it? But it's so much more powerful when you're actually recording a piece of content for the platform that it's going on. And of course, it could be YouTube either way, but if it's supposed to go down the shorts feed, that's a completely different video than an all-out music video or a visualizer. And when it comes to short form content, there's a whole bunch of different formats that you can follow. And of course, there are countless and endless different ways that you can create short form content. But I've narrowed it down to the 5 formats I like the most as an artist when it comes to trying to promote your music. The first one is something I call one-line acting, where let's say you have a 30-second clip of your song and you take each line that you say in the music and you actually act out what you're doing, or you act out the mood that you would have. So if you're talking about like a breakup song, you don't have to necessarily show yourself arguing with your girl. You can just show yourself in bed depressed. You know what I mean? You can get creative with this, and each line you switch up the scene, you switch up what you're doing, and you kind of act out the emotion or actually what you're doing. This keeps it fresh, where every single line, especially if it's like a fast-paced song, every single line is also a scene change. And when you're dealing with short form content where people are constantly scrolling, this is something that kind of stops the scroll and gets their attention. The next format that I like is called one-line performance, which is very similar to the last one, except with this one, instead of acting, you're just performing your song for every single line and you're changing the scene. This is something, again, where because you're changing the scene every single line, it kind of stops the click, it gets their attention, and makes people just stop for a second, listen to what you got going on, as opposed to you're just performing it all one take, which those can be powerful too. I know that those have gone viral as well, but this is just one of the formats that you can follow. For format number 3, we have video hook performance, which is what I was basically just talking about, where instead of switching it up every single line, you perform the entire song or the clip of the song in one scene or in one take. And this is going to be, the way you stop the scroll with this is you have some sort of hook at the beginning. And I don't want to give you like any sort of actual hook. This isn't something where you just copy and paste or whatever. This is where you get creative. A lot of this you have to get creative. That's why I wanted it to be something where it's fluid, something where you can choose what works for you. Now for this, a video hook might not even work for you. In fact, 2 or 3 of these formats might just be weird for you to do. And there's a couple of them that really work. In fact, there might be a format that I don't mention right here that you would love to do on your short form content. I encourage you to get creative. I encourage you to step outside of the box with this. But this is just to kind of, nudge you in the right direction, kind of get your creative gears turning if you hadn't thought about this. So again, for this format, you're using your actual caption to kind of be like, wait a minute, what? And it doesn't have to be anything outlandish with this. It could just be, you know what I mean? This is the sad song I wrote last year, or some shit. Just any sort of caption where people are like, oh, okay, and it gives them some sort of context on what they're seeing. This isn't something where you're switching the scene a lot and there's a lot of movement or anything like that. It's kind of slowing it down, which it might seem like it doesn't fit with everything else. We were just talking about it's short form. Everybody's scrolling. We should be going fast with the pace. Sometimes doing the opposite and just slowing down, putting a little video hook out there, some words they read and then they watch it. That is something that changes the pace. You feel me? If everybody is constantly moving, you might be the disruptor that comes in and just slows it down for a second. And that could be something that they're like, hey, let me just chill for 30 seconds before I go down the doom scroll again. For format number 4 of short form content, we got one scene acting, where again, you take some sort of clip of your song and you come up with an actual scene behind it and you act. You don't have to do it where it's all in one actual, you know what I mean? You never move the camera. You can have multiple camera angles and you're changing it, but this is one scene, if that makes sense. If you're out to eat and you're at the dinner table, you can get different angles at the table, but you kind of are staying out to eat. You're not bing bonging to all of these different scenes like some of the other formats that we've talked about. This takes the performing of your song out of it. Your song actually ends up just becoming background music on this format. And I kind of like this one because of that reason. It's kind of subliminal, it's very ninja strategic sneakiness. You know what I'm saying? You're putting your song in the background, so it's not as much here in your face, please go stream my song. It's something that they are just listening to while watching your other, creation. And speaking of this creation, this isn't the time to go half-ass. This is the time where you get creative. If you're doing one scene acting, I'm not saying you have to go all out and, do some sort of Hollywood film in 30 seconds. What I'm saying is just be creative. Like, how does it tie to your song? How does this scene, if putting your music aside, taking, like, let's say you could replace your song with any other song, how does this actual scene stand on its own? It's where you put another piece of creative work to the front and you let your music be the accent to it, if that makes sense. Last but not least, on our list of short form content formats, we got crazy caption, one take performance, which is going to be exactly what it sounds like. You do a one take performance of your song or the little clip of your song that you decide to push out, and you have some sort of crazy caption that goes along with it. How crazy do you want to be? This is kind of on you. I've heard of some artists claiming to be related to some other famous person, and nobody really fact checks, and people just went with it. I think they said something like, crazy how Beyonce's nephew, and they did some shit, is just now popping off or some shit like that. And then people were in the comments like, wow, nepotism at its finest and shit like that, and saying all of these things assuming that he was actually Beyonce's nephew, which he wasn't. It's basically, this last format is just trolling the internet, with your music. And this is probably why I shy away from this one, because why? It works though. So it was almost like one of those, like, putting my feelings aside, I gotta at least put it on the list of the 5 different short form content formats. I'm not saying I'm even opposed to it. It's just, I don't know if I necessarily have thought of a crazy caption that will work for my brand. I don't necessarily want to be like, am I related to whatever the fuck? In fact, people always say this lame ass shit, like I look like the Island Boys. I could use that shit. I could use it. Goddamn. I just don't know if I want to. You feel me? But this is why it's your creative freedom. You know what I mean? If you do look like somebody, fuck it. You don't even have to. That one old buddy didn't even look like Beyonce. You feel me? Like, he was just black. And everybody's like, oh, of course. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's really fact checking. And then I think that he even went on to do the same thing, except with a different famous person. He just switched out Beyonce with another famous person, and it still, like, did numbers. That just kind of goes to show you that nobody went to his profile to make sure, like, that was actually Beyonce's nephew, or wait a minute, if he's Beyonce's nephew, how is he also related to this person? You feel me? Like, it's not necessarily that deep. So you don't have to be like me, where like, oh, let me not do this, bro. If you're just like, fuck it, I'm just trying to get my shit out there, that might be the format for you. You feel me? But these are the 3 days where you put in the time, you get this content, and you just put it, you compile it all together. You got all of your different long form, you got all of the different clips that you got from that, and now you got as many clips or short form content from these different formats that you can make. There isn't a number. I'm not about to sit here and be like, you got to make sure you get 30 different ones for the 30 different days. You feel me? Like, do honestly as many as you can. You feel me? Don't push it. Don't push it where it's just like you just put out some hot garbage just because, you know what I mean, you're trying to hit a certain amount of pieces of content. Put out as much as you can. Don't sit here and honestly put so much pressure on yourself. Yes, put pressure to the point where diamonds can be made under pressure. I get that. But don't put so much pressure where you're beating yourself up because you don't hit a certain amount of pieces of content. Like I said, I don't have a number for you. So if you want that structure, do it for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, if you think about it, it'll be 3 days. So we're going to be starting on day number 5 next. You can kind of, how many do you want to post a day? 1 a day, 2 a day? You can kind of reverse engineer what you're trying to do. Maybe you don't want to post on Sundays. Maybe you don't want to post, 2 times every single day, but a couple of the days you do. This is where you put your thinking cap on and you figure out what the hell you want to do. So let's go ahead and fast forward to day number 5. We just did these 3 days of content. We already checked the temperature of our audience. Day number 5, we are ready to actually start scheduling this shit out. And platforms like YouTube, they do allow you to schedule it, so you're not constantly having to post every single day and stay on top of it, where again, let's say it's a week from now and you end up missing one and you're just beating yourself up because it's like, fuck, man, like I missed the day, like this is what I was supposed to do. No, this is your day number 5, where you just go ahead and schedule everything. And again, if you want to go on to other platforms like Instagram or TikTok, whatever, you can still schedule there as well. I know Instagram you can schedule. As far as I know, TikTok, you still can't schedule anything for some reason, but you can add it to your drafts. So if you add all of these pieces of content to your drafts, or you schedule it out, whatever actually works best for you, you can have it there where it's just a click of a button. Even if it is in your drafts and you don't schedule it where it goes out automatic, it's as easy as you set an alarm every single day and, gotta post it. It's already in your draft and you just go ahead and post it there. This is your day where you get all that shit in order. You don't want to be thinking about this on day number 20. You feel me? You don't want to be thinking about this by the time day number 30 comes around, because you gotta just, there's so many other things that you have to do, that posting content and making sure you're on top of it every day. There's just so many tools out there that makes it a no-brainer. It makes it so easy for us where it's just stupid not to utilize it. So schedule everything on day number 5. Go ahead and cross that out. Day number 6 right here is where we're actually going to start looking at the data again. Of course, day number 1, you're already checking the temperature, unless you were just starting out and you're just running with your first song or your first few songs. This is where you're putting your test out there. You're putting out different pieces of content. If each song has 5 different pieces of content out there, you want to see which one's performing the best. You want to see who wins your test or your game, whatever you want to call it, right? And this is going to be your time to do that. But it's not just looking at your data. It's not just making sure that everything is performing exactly how it should and blah, blah, blah. You're also a person, and you got to talk to the other people that are actually making this happen. Your listeners, your fans, the people that are engaging with you. So if you put a piece of content out there and they comment, man, you better comment back. If they're DMing you, you better DM back, at least like the motherfucker. If they're putting a story post up there, say thank you for the shout out. Do something where you repost something. Do something. If they're commenting in your community post, because on YouTube, let's pretend like you don't want to be on any other platforms, and right now you're just focusing on YouTube. Let's say that if you're putting a community post out there, which is another way where you can, it's just like Instagram and Twitter or X, whatever the fuck, you can do the same things on YouTube. And they're commenting, why would you not comment back? Why would you not show that you're a person behind all of this, that you're not just some sort of factory that's putting out content after content? These next few days, in fact, we're going to spend 5 days total doing that. And that'll just be 5 consistent days where you're just looking at who is actually engaging, and you're engaging back, and you're kind of seeing what's working and you're doubling down on that. But this next day is when we get back to the content. So day number 11 is actually going to be where you start your next content creation period. This one, instead of being 3 days long, is going to be 10 days long in total. So all the way from day 11 to day 20, you're going to be creating more long form content and more short form content. But it's not going to be exactly what you did last time. This time instead, you're going to be doing lyric breakdown videos. It may just be one. If you're only doing one song right now, it may be multiple. You may have multiple out there and you still decide just to do one. Again, decide what works best. Look at the data. After these past few days, you should see what's already kind of working, what people are commenting the most on, and what they're liking. Do a lyric breakdown on the songs that people actually want a breakdown of. You feel me? If you have a song out there, and I get it, there are babies. We love all of our babies the same, right? But if you have a song out there it's just not getting any engagement, it's not really getting any views, it probably wouldn't be the best use of your time to break down the lyrics of that song. So again, using the past 5 days to dictate how you move forward on the next 10 days is going to be super crucial. After you do the lyric breakdowns, you're not just going to stop there. Of course, you can finish any of the other long form videos that you didn't do the first 3 days. Let's say you did a lyric video and you got the different versions of your song out there, but you really want to do a music video to one of your songs. This could be the time where you go ahead and plan for that. But let's say all of the music side of content is done for. You're like, you know what? I created everything those first 3 days. I have it scheduled out. Everything is going right on plan for me. And the other things that you want to do is start to think about recording different podcasts, going live, show some behind the scenes, show some more of your personality. And we're looking at this as a 3-dimensional artist is how I like to look at it. You got your music as the first dimension, and you got you right there in the middle. And then your last dimension could be other interests and hobbies that you have outside of music. So we've already gotten the music taken care of, assuming that is the case. Now, for your personality, like I said, a podcast it's one of those very easy ways to actually showcase who you are as a person, showcase some of your beliefs. So hopefully, thinking of this holistically, you're not just taking this day by day. You already know that this content creation period is coming. This will be 10 days. So that doesn't mean day one, you can't already start scheduling for people to come out like, hey, in 12 days, are you going to be free? You know what I mean? Start working with other people's schedules if you're having guests on your podcast. If you decide to go live, that's another way to show your personality too, where you don't necessarily need somebody else. You can show some of the behind the scenes of you creating your songs, or behind the scenes like a day in a life type of video or a vlog. It really depends on who you are as a creator. But this is the period where you kind of let your personality shine, like I said. But what about that third dimension that we're talking about? You got your music, we got you. What about the things that you like to do outside of that? This is where you can actually take some time to create content around that as well. So like name the hobby. It's really hard for me to just come up with examples because I feel like I just keep saying the same shit. But even if like you are really big into movies, you feel me? Like you can actually start doing reaction videos to you watching movies, or you can have a commentary or some, like, get creative with it. Again, when it comes down to the black and white, this is what you should do, and this is step 1, 2, and 3, and this is exactly what you need to do, man, that shit is whack. It's going to end up making you like some sort of robotic copycat. And even if, you know what I mean, this shit worked for 100 artists, eventually you copycatting this same framework, it's not going to work for you, because then, you know what I mean, that's exactly what it'll look like. It'll look like just a replica or a clone of something that's already been proven to work. So looking at this as you do whatever type of content works best for you. Just kind of thinking of the principles as you're doing it. So if going live is better for you than a podcast, cool. I personally, I try to steel man it on the other side. Like, It's really just one of the easiest ways. It's one of the easiest ways to authentically show yourself. But this third dimension where you're creating this content, you can also still incorporate your music. You can still incorporate who you are. Obviously, if we're going to use the movie example, if you're doing commentary or reactions on your favorite new movie that you just watched or your favorite show that you just binged, you feel me? You can show who you are by just commenting on it. Like, oh, I thought that same thing when I saw this. You feel me? Another thing you could do, though, if you want to incorporate your music, is just have it playing in the background. And this is kind of like the short form content we were talking about when you're doing the one scene acting. And it's kind of like this piece of content stands on its own. The reaction to a movie, the one scene acting, and the short form content, whatever it is, you put your music in the background, and it's again just like that accent mark that, like, oh, I'm really enjoying this. This is entertaining me. But that's a fire ass song. What song is this? Oh, they're the artists. You know what I mean? Like, assuming that the person that's watching this isn't already your number one fan and they know everything that you've dropped. Like, this may be somebody's first time ever coming across your content, and they wouldn't have come across it if it wasn't for the topic of your podcast, if it wasn't for the passion that you had because they like that same movie, or if you're a skateboarder, you want to do this trick or whatever, and you're showing yourself practice that trick. They're of similar minds, and they're coming in on different reasons besides your music. So when your music is just sitting in the background, and it's like, wow, this is nice. It's like a little pleasant surprise, the icing on top of the cake, but the cake is the main portion. This is going to be able to serve you so much better than, like I said earlier, just constantly just pushing it down somebody's throat. And it's going to show you more holistically as a person. So if they're coming in and they're seeing you on these other sides and they're relating to you on these other topics, you having music that they like, that's just a bonus. And then let's say they like the music, they add it, and then they find out, like, holy shit, I didn't even put it together. That's the same person. You feel me? This is how somebody naturally starts to become a fan of you. They naturally start to see more sides of you. You don't just meet somebody in the bar and say, hey, this is my entire life story. This is everything that I like to do. Here are my passions. Here are my kids. Here's my wife. Here's my dog and all that. You feel me? You don't do that. How are you going to make a friend or, you know what I mean, have a romantic partner doing this, like sitting here trying to put everything about you down their throat? They might see you when you're, at the bar and you're shooting some pool. Oh, you like pool? Okay. They might see you while you're performing. Oh, like, you're a musician. I get it. Like, what else do you like? And I like to relate it back to in real life situations, because a lot of us, we naturally know how these things go. It's the cultural norms. Like, it's a known thing that it's kind of cringy to be an oversharer, to be doing too much, to be trying too hard. So it's also a known thing to know that being one-dimensional and just being like the person that just does this one thing and that's all I'll ever do. I'm sorry if you want to have other passions or you want to do other things. This is all I like. This is all that I'll talk about. We all know that this is abnormal. This is weird. And this is something that, again, is kind of cringy. Like let's just compare it to you are starting a new relationship. You know what I mean? If you start out rock climbing, you guys go on a first date and you're rock climbers and you guys both fucking love this. But what they don't know is you really love this shit. This is all you do. This is all you ever talk about. You research different rock climbing shit. All you ever want to fucking think about is climbing some goddamn rocks. See, your new girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever you prefer, they go to do other things. Like, you want to go catch this movie? You want to go, wine tasting or whatever, they may like. You feel me? Like, they try to put these other passions and interests onto you. And you're just like, wait, what? I'm the rock climbing person. I climb rocks. This is all I do. So, and by the way, did you hear about that other person that just climbed this rock and it's so amazing? And oh my God, you feel me? And it's just like, that's it. This is all we got. How long do you think that relationship's going to last? How long do you think somebody's going to become a fan or be a fan of you, rather, if all you ever talk about is music? That's it. So showing your music, showing yourself, showing the different interests and passions and hobbies that you have, this is going to be a more holistic way of branding yourself, a more three-dimensional approach at putting yourself out there content wise. And I'm not saying this is like content buckets. Like you have to make sure you get this content bucket and this content bucket and this content bucket all checked off just to move on. You probably will have more music shit. You know what I mean? You're putting out a lot of songs. You have different variations. You have different visualizers and things that you can accompany your song to. And then even when you put out other shit like, you know, in your third dimension, like a reaction to a movie, you might even have your music in the background. It's okay that most of the shit that you put out is music. It's not one of those things where I even want to put a percentage like, oh, it's 70% here, 20% here, and 10% there. That would be too much. Like there's a science to the art, but I don't want you to get too caught up with the science. You feel me? Too caught up with the formulaic way of going about this. I want you to look at this like exactly as you are as a creative. You feel me? Like you wouldn't look at creating your song like this. I want you to look at your content the same exact way. But this is going to end up taking up 10 days of your time. And I'm talking about this is you editing it, shooting it. You know what I mean? You've already scheduled for people to come out for a podcast. You're going live or whatever. You have to make sure that it's not just getting the content itself edited. Of course, we're on YouTube. You got to make sure that you have your thumbnails. Maybe you have other, different graphics that you want to put together. Or, you know what I mean? You had a tweet or an X post rather that went viral or that you really just liked and it kind of resonated with you. You could put a little graphic together in Canva or Photoshop and then put that on your community post or on some of the other social platforms that you may want to post to. So this is your time to create multiple pieces of content. It's 10 days of you buckling down. Yes, of course, just like the last 5 days, you want to be engaging with DMs. You want to make sure that you're looking at the data. I would say focus less on the data and, lean more towards keeping up with like any comments that somebody leaves. You want to make sure you comment back still, because other content that you have out there should be scheduled out already. So even if you're not personally putting shit out there, your shit should be continuously going out, which means you might be getting new content or new comments rather, and new DMs and new mentions. Like you want to make sure that you're keeping up with all of that. Now the data end, you'll have other time to come back and look at that, because the main focus that you should have right now, other than keeping up with your different engagement, is creating this content. It's 10 more days to make sure that you have more things to add. And this is how you make sure your brand is actually profitable. You're not just somebody, again, talking about rock climbing all the fucking time. Nobody wants to be a fan of that or in a relationship with that, like using the last story, right? So in these 10 days, by the end of it, you should have your lyric breakdown. You should have maybe some of the long form content that you missed, and you've clipped up all of this. You've done podcasts, you've getting clips of this, and you're doing the same exact strategy as before, where you take these clips and you're scheduling those out. But you don't want to just rely on the clips. Again, you may want to go back to the 5 different formats of short form content and create more music short form content that actually worked before. So let's say you did 2 of each format and you have 10 pieces of content out there. Again, I'm not putting a fucking number on it. You create as much as you can. But if you've tested it out, like I don't know which one will work, I'm down to do all the different type of formats, and you notice that 2 of them actually resonate better with your audience, and you capture the essence of that format the best. Or maybe you even have a new format that you want to try out. You can double down on the ones that work. You can experiment with some new ones. This is the time also to create short form content. But as far as if you had to put a weight on it, again, not saying it's a bucket or anything like that. I strongly encourage you to, I know our ego loves putting our songs out there and doubling down on that and getting the comments on that. Please put out more of yourself. Put out you as a person. And even if it's just you do one podcast episode, or you just go live and you record that shit and you take little clips of that, something where people can actually see the person behind the music, the artist behind the art. And that's super important. So let's go ahead and X these days out. So day 21 is, and we only got 2 more steps to go in this little 30-day framework. But day 21 is the start of kind of the reflection period where you're kind of looking at everything you've already done. Of course, you've scheduled out everything, all of the pieces of content before. And I apologize, I don't think I actually included that. When you were creating these pieces of content, it's 10 days. Obviously, schedule this shit out too. You have 10 days to create it, edit it, and schedule it out. But day 21, we're good until day 30. There's no more creation, and unless you want to create music. But day 21 is where we're reflecting on what's already worked. We're looking at the data. The only thing that you're going to continuously do is keep up with the engagement. If people comment back. I don't care how big you think you are, how cool you think you are. If you got time, man, just take a little bit of time out of your day to respond to the people. In fact, if you don't have, I don't want to put a number on it, man, unless it is fucking overwhelming where it's like, bro, I cannot keep up with all of these DMs and comments and shit like that. Man, you should do it as long as you can until it is literally impossible to keep up with it. And then at that point, you will have gotten to the status point or enough clout where people will realize that. They'll already recognize that. You don't even need to have that many followers. People, like for me, still be like, wow, I can't believe you responded. So you'd be surprised how artists, they get like, I don't know, like 1,000 true fans, right? That's when you pop off. When you get your first 1,000, they get 1,000 fans or 1,000 followers or whatever, and they get all high and mighty, and they start unfollowing everybody, respond to nobody, and you know what I mean? I'm the shit. You're welcome for my content. And you don't want to be that, man. You just want to be a person. You want to be authentic. And day 21 is kind of the start of it's, and it's 5 days in total. So it'll be all the way from the 21st to the 25th day, where you're going to be looking at different long form videos on YouTube that are working for other people. And here's what I mean by that. Let's say actually take some time to do research. This is like market research where you're just scrolling through the home feed. What are some of the packaging that's working for other people? Not just other artists. Look at other niches, other people. It could be literally whatever. You'd be surprised on how you can relate something that's completely way left field from what you do and relate it back to the music that you put out and you as an artist. So what are look what are the titles that are actually working right now? And you'll notice, in fact, that a lot of people spread out on all the different niches, they'll use like certain formats that is working currently. You feel me? Like give me 9 minutes and I'll give you whatever the fuck. And there are these different trends that kind of happen, and it's kind of, you probably have seen it in other platforms as well, but there's different trends that you can actually notice, and you could be like, okay, how would I relate this to a podcast episode? How would I relate this to, my new visualizer or my new music video or whatever the fuck kind of content that you're putting out there? You're just looking. Now, this reflective period, as much as you are doing market research, my favorite part of it is not to actually look out at everything. Yes, you want to look at the titles and the different thumbnails. That's another thing. And, you could look at different thumbnail styles that work too, because you can have the best video ever, but if people don't click on it, it doesn't really matter. I want you to do all that research. But one of my favorite parts about this section in particular is when you kind of just disconnect. You disconnect and you go do your own thing. Maybe you are trying to brainstorm in your head. You feel me? You're trying to think of different long form ideas, or I'd love to do a video on this. You're kind of just like unplugging away from everything. I don't want to see shit right now. And this is where self-awareness is super key, because maybe going on a walk for you is the perfect thing to clear your mind. Maybe you just like to get a good workout in every day, and that's your time to clear your mind. Maybe you're not one of those people that just like to disconnect. You actually like to think on things, but you're not like right here, I'm brainstorming, I need to write down all of my different ideas. You're just kind of like thinking about it on the background. You know what I mean? You're washing dishes, kind of thinking about it. You're in the shower, kind of thinking about it. And it's just like, and it just fucking hits you. And it's like, whoa, what if I did this? Whoa, what if I spun it like that and I did my music like this? Or actually, for my third dimension, I have this whole new passion that I'd like to, you get creative with it. And this is specifically for your long form, just to kind of, you know what I mean, to separate what you're actually thinking about. You do want to have some sort of structure, I guess, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, what works for you? But this will take 5 days. So 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 are all going to be crossed out. For day 26, we're still going to be in the reflective period. Of course, it's been 5 more days, so we have even more data to look at. We're able to look at not just how we're performing on social media platforms. Let's say, you know what I mean, you have a short or a reel, TikTok, whatever platforms you're on, one of them does really well. Is it also translating where you're getting the streams? And if it does translate, let's say you don't have really any movement on TikTok, but then on YouTube you have a short that pops off. And it didn't really do anything on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, but on YouTube, this short ended up getting, thousands and thousands or whatever metric that makes you all excited and smile deep inside. It gets a whole bunch of views and it does well. Is that translating to Spotify, Apple Music, these other different platforms? And if it is, does YouTube translate more to Spotify? Or do they actually usually go to Apple? Or are my Spotify listeners, do they mainly come from Instagram or TikTok? Like, where are people coming from? And when people actually do cross over, where do they go? These are all things that you need to pay attention to. And it might seem like oh God, I just want to make the music, bro. I know it might seem like a lot, but this is how you actually turn around your brand and actually approach it like a business. You wouldn't just create any other business in any other industry or niche and expect not to do market research, not to actually put content out there to show who you are as a brand, what type of products you are, and all of these different things that I could actually draw a parallel from the actual business world to the music business world, because it is all business. Even though we feel like it's the music, man, everybody else, and by everybody else I mean the money people, the people that are actually just paying for shit, somebody's not looking at this any different than any other business. Even on the consumer level, somebody, of course, they're paying for Spotify, but they also pay for Netflix. They're looking at it the same. And that's exactly what we need to do as artists. We need to approach this as a business. These next 5 days and the last 5 days of your 30 is going to be another reflective period where you're doing the same exact thing as you did the previous 5 days, except you're doing it for your short form content. And it might be where you're like me, where it actually is kind of painful to scroll through social media. I know a lot of people are addicted. I hate that shit. I just feel like I could be doing so many other things. But again, the data that you actually get from this is going to be priceless. It's not just what's working for you. You want to see what's working on the platform that you're putting shit out on. You want to make sure you're checking the pulse of the culture that you're trying to be a part of. You don't want to just be somebody that's putting out shit, throwing shit at the wall, and then eventually something's going to stick. And if not, I'm staying true to my fucking music, man. Yes, stay true to your music, but that doesn't mean that you should just ignore everything else. These last 5 days are going to be crucial. Like I said, take your walks, meditate, go to the fucking sauna. Let's go ahead and cross off day 30. Those are your 30 days where you're fully putting shit out. You're fully reflecting on what you're putting out, and you're creating content that people will be able to attract to. That's not just your music. Now, this 30 days right here, you'll be able to repeat that as many times as you want. So after the end of the 30 days, if you kind of think back to day number 1, is you're reflecting, you're seeing what's happening. It's kind of like, all right, now I'm getting started. I'm out of my reflective zone, and now I'm back looking at the data. You kind of already in your head know what you're doing going forward. If you tested 3 songs in this past 30-day period and one of them just wasn't doing the numbers, like it just showed content after content, it just wasn't resonating with people, it wasn't translating over to any sort of streams, it's time to cut that one loose. And I don't mean just, take it down from all streaming platforms. I mean, what is the best use of your time? If you can only put out 2 songs that you're promoting now, but you're putting out more content per song, it actually might end up leading to more streams and more followers and more blase, all the shit, again, that makes you smile and feel like you're making some sort of progress, that you're actually going to have a profitable brand. And because this is something that you can't guarantee it'll happen in 30 days, you may have to repeat this over and over and over again. This is just so when you do feel lost, when you do feel like I'm not making any sort of progress, like I'm putting shit out there, but what is it really doing? You actually feel like you are on some sort of roadmap. You feel me? Like you are in a marathon right now. And all these are just little arrows that are pointing you in the right direction. I can't tell you exactly where the finish line is and exactly, you know what I mean, how you're going to be able to race this marathon in order to win it. I went ahead and thought of some of the questions that you might have, and I want to answer them now. That way, there's nothing that holds you back. There's nothing that confuses you about this process, so you can get started with this framework immediately. And the first question that I kind of thought somebody might have is, when do you create the music? Like, I see a lot of content creation, a lot of research and reflecting and all this shit. When do I actually create the music? And the answer is really simple. It's whenever. Whenever you have the time, the inspiration, the creative intuition. I don't know, man. Like, there's no set time. Like, if having a scheduled time where every single day you make music works for you, then cool, that works for me. If you just like to make music whenever your gut tells you and you're just kind of feeling the vibe, then that's cool too. Obviously, you want to make time to create the music. You don't want to be so wrapped up in promoting your music that's already out there that you never put any music out. And then by the time you realize, like, man, this content's getting a little stale, it's getting a little old, now I need to put new music out there, then it's kind of like, all right, well, now I'm playing catch up. And now I got to go make sure I record a song and, release that shit so I can kind of start over again. And then instead of being able to have the momentum of doing this over and over again and just kind of swapping out the different the different songs that you have, you're kind of just stopping and starting and stopping and starting, and that's just going to end up slowing you down in the long run. The next question I thought you might have is, do I have to do everything that's on this list? And if you haven't been able to tell by now, the answer is going to be a hell no. You definitely don't. Let's say, you know what I mean, a lyric breakdown just isn't your style. It's not your vibe. Like, I don't want to break down my lyrics. I just don't. I don't know why, but it might not be your style. Who am I to tell you that that shouldn't be your style or that it should be your style? You feel me? Let's say you would never put out a sped up or a slowed down version of your song. The fuck? The actual original version is the version that should be out there. That's what? Why would I ever change that? That might be you. If you have an explicit version out there, you may not ever want to put a clean version out there. I'm not here to judge you and say, like, you need to do this or else, or, I'm shaking my finger at you like you don't really want to make it. You feel me? Like, again, these are just guidelines. These are just like pointing you in the right direction. Like, you're in this marathon. I don't know exactly where you want to go. I know the finish line is somewhere over there, though. You know what I mean? I guess that metaphor doesn't fully track, but my point is, you can't take everything to heart. You can't say that, well, he said to do a podcast, I have to do a podcast. What if you don't want to do a podcast? What if, in fact, you want to put your personality out there, but you're better at just writing shit? And I'd rather just put a whole bunch of X posts out there. I put my music out there, and then I'll take like screenshots of the different X posts that I have, or I put it on Threads or whatever the fuck. And you come up with your own creative way to put your personality out there. What if, you know what I mean, like, your passion isn't something that you want to show over video? And I'm trying to think of an example, and I really can't. My point is, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do everything. You feel me? You just have to know what you want to do. That's it. You just have to have some sort of intention. That's the only half behind it, is don't just wing it. Don't just wing it. Even if you're winging it, know, like, I am winging it right now. Like, I'm intentionally just winging it because I like the results of when I wing it. But then know when you should reflect and see, okay, after I was just winging it for a little second, and this is what my gut told me. Nobody can say exactly what you should do. Again, this shouldn't be a 1, 2, 3. If you're not following that, good luck getting to step number 4. No, this is one of those, here's the guideline. Try to get to where you're going, and try to reflect on what you've done. If you are just winging it, make sure you're taking some time and seeing how you're actually doing. But you also might be asking, how does this actually make me a profitable brand? How am I making money off this? How am I monetizing this? Obviously, yeah, you can eventually get enough streams, right? And start making money that way. You can eventually, like, get in the YouTube partnership program and start getting paid through the ads that play on your YouTube channel, right? Like, these are all ways that we know eventually we create money. But how am I profiting after 30 days? Like, if I wasn't profiting before, Is it likely that I'll really be profiting at the end of this 30 days? And you might not. It really does depend on where you are in your journey. It really does depend on how many people are already rocking with you. But what I do know is a common mistake, one that I made, is trying to monetize before actually creating the audience. And creating the audience or building a fan base, it's relative, right? Because some people will say you need 1,000 true fans, or you just have 100 fans, 10 fans. What is that number? When do you start monetizing? When are you supposed to switch it? And I guess it's not one of those numbers that I have for you. I don't have like the magic answer for you. But what I do know is it's very painful to try to monetize your shit before you actually should, before you've actually built the audience, built the loyalty. Because even if you have listeners, and that was what my mistake was, is I have listeners, people listen to my shit. People are commenting. Like I see the same people commenting on my shit. Like they're engaged, right? They like my music. But if you're only putting your music out there, again, it's really hard to date the person that only wants to talk about rock climbing. And especially if you're constantly trying to not only push down the throat, hey, go stream my shit, but hey, go buy my shirt, go, buy my hat, go, and that's literally what this is. That's literally what now that I just realized I'm wearing this, like I'm wearing my exo-zooted hat, and it's because I bought a whole bunch of hats. I bought a whole bunch of shirts and wristbands, and I bought a whole bunch of posters. I bought the little tubes that they go in. I'm gonna ship them, right? You know what I mean? Like I had this whole idea in my head because that's what we're told. You gotta monetize your shit. You wanna be a full-time artist, you have to monetize it. Stop looking at this as just a hobby. You gotta look at it as a business. True. But a lot of businesses, when they first start out, they don't have the same uphill battle as us. You know what I mean? Our content or our product rather, is music. And music in this day and age, it's not one of those like this is back in the 90s and we could just, start selling CDs out the trunk of your car. Yes, you can, but one, who has CDs? Two, who sells their music like that? The only people that actually buy music is when it's like, I'm supporting a fan or I'm supporting an artist because I'm a fan. But for the most part, especially starting out, especially when you're just an artist that hasn't really made a name for yourself, who are you to put together an album and say, here it is for $10, $15, $20, whatever it is? And I did that too. I literally got 100 different CDs of my first debut album, and this was going to be like, I spent thousands. This was all at once. I got the hats and the shirts and the merch, and I got the albums, and I had them plastic wrapped and everything. It looked official. But how many do you think I really sold? Guess what? It was less than this. It was less than what I couldn't even get to my second hand. It was 3. I sold 3 albums. I sold like a shirt or 2. It would have been more to my friends and family, but what? I'm not selling you this. Here, just take it, right? Especially at the point where when people were asking for it, I wasn't making the sales like that. And a lot of people, they might be like, oh, your friends and family, they should support. They should be buying or whatever. At that point, I was just giving them away because I realized I already made a mistake. I was already trying to, what's the phrase? Count my chickens before ever the eggs hatched or whatever. I didn't put myself out there as a person. I put my music out there as a product. And then I wondered why the fans of my product didn't want to buy other products from me. And especially when the first product that they were actually, engaging with, it was free. It was on Spotify or YouTube, or they were getting a clip of it from Instagram or whatever the hell they were coming across it, right? Now, when it comes down to, hey, buy my shirt, how many people are like, wait, what? Most of them. How many people are just going to be like, wait, who? Oh, yeah, the artist. What? I don't know you, bro. How could they? How could anybody know you if you don't put yourself out there? And going through this 30-day framework is going to help you by the end of it, where people don't just look at you as somebody that puts out music, as the asshole that just talks about rock climbing the whole time and doesn't actually talk about anything else. You feel me? You're going to be engaging with your fans. if you weren't doing that before. You're going to actually be putting out sides of you that make you you, other than your music, your actual beliefs, the things that you talk about. You're going to be showing different friends that you have, and different, even if it's like a guest you've never, met before, and you have them on your podcast, like how you first talk to people when you first meet them. All these little things where people are able to see like that insight, like a window into your soul, into who you are as a person. They're going to see other passions that you have, and not only that, they're going to see your music not just as some product that they have on repeat on Spotify because it's good. Your song is good and they love it. They're going to keep listening. But now they're seeing it in different ways because now they've seen the breakdown of the lyrics. You know what I mean? So it means even more to them. They're seeing it in a whole new light. Not only that, they're hearing it in the sped up version. Before, it was a chill song. Now that it's all sped up, it's kind of lit. Shit, that's going in the workout playlist. So now they're double dipping and they're listening to it twice, all sped up while they're lifting weights or while they're running or whatever the fuck. And now you're getting into their life into different ways. You have a passion right here. Wow, I didn't know you liked that passion. I like you more because I have that same passion. These people won't know what to connect to if you don't actually show it. And because you are going to be doing this, repeating, rinse and repeat, actually reflecting on what works, actually engaging with the people and showing them that you care, because it's not just some fake gimmick, right? You should care. These are going to be the people that actually, their attention and engagement is going to help fuel you becoming profitable. That is going to be how you become profitable, because then they start telling their friends. They start sharing for more reasons than just your music, but because like, oh my God, I didn't know that he or she was funny too. I didn't know that he or she liked this too. These are the things that are actually going to help you become profitable. If you are not profiting at the end of this 30 days, then just rinse and repeat. And eventually you're going to start thinking of different digital products that you could put out, because now it's not just like your music, right? Let's say, yeah, they can show you some love and buy your song on Apple. Like I love it when somebody actually purchases a song or whatever. But other than your music, other than like here are different versions of my songs, or here's my album, like, and other than trying to get them to pay for your music, you're able to monetize your brand in different ways. Because if you have a podcast out, or you have like a vlog series out, or whatever the hell it is, you can actually have some sort of membership behind that. And of course, you might have heard of like Patreon or YouTube membership, or all these different services or sites that you can actually have something like this. But how much more enticing is it if it's not just music? Like, okay, this is one of my favorite artists, but not only am I going to get early access to, I don't know, their music or the behind the scenes, whatever you want to do for the music side, I'm also going to see their podcast live, or I'll get the early viewing of their podcast live, or you only go live with your members, or so many other, again, just like I've been saying the whole video, creative ways to do what you're trying to do. You're not just trying to make a quick buck on these people, because if it's done right, just like you repeat this 30-day framework, the profit will continue to repeat as well. And it's more than just having digital products or memberships. Of course, you can go have live performances or anything. Like, it's honestly, it can go in so many different ways. And I mean so many different ways. Think about how Mr. Beast had started out as a YouTuber. Of course, he became fucking Mr. Beast and gets so many views on YouTube, but then he likes chocolate. Why not start my own chocolate bar? You feel me? And I know that's kind of like, biting off of his thing. You get it? Biting. But that was a dad joke. Oh, shit. But biting off of his thing, let's say you like chocolate. You create your own chocolate bar. I don't know. That would be really hard. Or let's say you really like bumper stickers. You're one of those people, you know what I'm saying? You're riding down the road and those people that have bumper stickers everywhere, like their entire car on the back is like filled with bumper stickers. Maybe that's you. Maybe your fans are just like you and you can have a bumper sticker or some shit. It's really hard to say like, yes, so see, once you get to day 30, then you can start putting this out. And these formulaic ways of looking at it is exactly what's going to keep you broke. You may be able to put out these like low effort, low hanging, here's my logo on a hat, come buy it for 15, 20 bucks. You may get some sales, but it's not going to be as enticing as you've put out so much of you as a collective, so much different things people can connect to. Then you create some sort of like inside group. You know what I mean? Like only your real fans are gonna know that your car is full of bumper stickers and you got your shit all decked out. And you can start doing pictures and shit like that. You can start showcasing this. But my point is, your true fans are gonna know the why behind the what. It's not gonna be like, oh yeah, they want to monetize, so they're putting out, shirts and hats and like. What's the why behind this? What's the why behind, hey, here's my shirt? Like, you know how big of a fan somebody has to be just to wear your shirt with your name on it? Or your fucking face, bro. Like, I don't know, man. I wouldn't get my mom's name tattooed on me. You feel me? Like, what, you think I'm gonna wear some random artist's name on my shirt and just like look around? And that's so funny because right now I got a Mac Miller shirt, so I guess it does work. But RIP, you don't want to have to, you feel me, go 6 feet under just to start selling some shirts. Or you don't want to have to honestly get to the fame level of Mac Miller to even start to be able to monetize. Like, you know what I mean? How long did it take for him to build that brand to where people would actually wear a shirt with a face and a name on it? Another question that you might have is about the posting schedule. Of course, I'm assuming that you want to be profitable as fast as possible. You want to be successful as fast as possible. So the question comes in is, okay, I know there isn't a certain amount of pieces of content that I gotta post every single 30 days or whatever, but if I post more, will I get there faster? Will I become profitable faster if I'm able to put out 3 times as much content as I was thinking of putting out before? And the answer to that is yeah, no, maybe, probably, definitely, could be. I don't know. You got to test. That's why so much of this is actually looking at the data, reflecting upon it, and saying, okay, like, let me double down on this. Let me actually try to tweak that 1% and actually continuously try to progress that way. And it's kind of similar to, Elon Musk is sending all of these different rockets and shit up to space, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to get to Mars. And he's openly said that a lot of these rockets are going to blow up. Like, when they blow up, that's when we're going to be able to get some of that data back, and we're going to be able to learn so much. Okay, it blew up because of that. Now we can just course correct and go here. That's kind of what you're going to be doing with this. Obviously, rockets blowing up isn't anywhere near, it's a lot more dire than this, you feel me? Like, this isn't going to be any rocket science here. This is just music, you feel me? So yes, you're going to have rockets blow up for you, for us. That means a song is going to be a dud. You know what I mean? I really, really, really thought this song was going to be it. I just did. And it wasn't. The data shows me. So at the end of the day, you putting out more content or less content or the same exact content that's already in your head right now, it might work, it might not. You're going to have to test it. So 30 days where you do double, if nothing changes, you get the same amount of streams, your engagement stays the same, maybe there's a better use of your time. Or maybe like that doesn't tell you enough and you could just be making the content better. Or what if your engagement goes down? What if when you put out more content, less, like, people engage less because they feel a little bit bombarded or whatever? It's really going to be one of those trial and error things. And then the next 30 days, and that's honestly why I like how in this framework, it's the content days are broken up onto 2 different periods. You're not just making all of your content, let me schedule it all out. You can always adjust it. You can always say, okay, you know what? Let me actually, this one that I had scheduled on day 20, let me reschedule that, and I'm going to hold that until after this 30-day period, and I'll just have one in the chamber that I can put out. This is that creative freedom that you're going to want to have. You're going to want to be able to just adjust and fine tune as you. There's so much more to being an artist than just chasing as many streams as you can on your music. You want to have connection, true connection with people. And of course, you can have people that connect with your music, but people connect the most with people. And building a brand, it just allows you to create those connections on a larger scale.